What is up, everyone? What is up? Happy Thursday. Yeah, I know. I've streamed quite a bit this week. I don't know. I've just got more energy in me, ironically, when you get ADHD meds. I don't know. Just been feeling in a good mood. It's 1 week in. So far, it's been great. And, I guess, everyone's talking right now about how South Park has managed to piss Trump off, which is funny. I haven't seen the episode yet. I kind of got the gist of it from clips and stuff going around. It seems par for the course for South Park, and of course, par for the course for Trump being, you know, a little B, because he just can't take a joke, and he's like, they're not relevant. They haven't been relevant for 20 years. But what's interesting is they may have kind of tanked the CBS Paramount merger, because they only settled because they wanted to get that merger, because before you get a merger, you got to settle all your liabilities and everything like that. And, they acquiesced to Trump, and I think that screwed themselves in the long run, especially now that, Trey and, what is it? Who are the creators of South Park? I can't remember both their names. They did this with their South Park episode, because it's going to have a lot of people, not a lot of people, but it's going to have Trump upset. He's probably going to, try to go out for both of these companies. But my understanding is that Paramount paid hundreds of millions of dollars for South Park, and they're not just going to cancel it overnight just because Trump's upset. The last thing you do with a bully, and this is what CBS should have learned, is you don't give in to a bully. You stand up to them. 1.5 billion? Yeah, I think so. Was that the number? I heard some high number. I haven't looked too much into it, other than just what's going around. One of my kids says it was 1.5 billion for 5 years. So, yeah, 5-year contract, 1.5 billion. Now, the question is, how much money was given up front? Because they only have one episode out right now. Now, I'm going to be curious to see what the clause is if Paramount wants to break it because of the thing coming out. But, hey, Hans, how's it going? Stabby, how you doing? Yeah. Who says that he's even going to be upset? Oh, no, he's already upset. He's apparently gone on Truth Social and ranted and raved about it. I think he's just more upset at every single distraction, because my understanding is we're all but certain, at least we the public, but it seems very likely he's in the Epstein files. Did you see the clips with the when Epstein was being interviewed? And he said, yeah, I knew Trump. And then when asked, were you ever in the company of Trump with underage girls or something like that, he said, I plead the fifth. You just admitted that you knew Trump, so it's like, and then the ironic thing, to use Trump's own logic, anyone that pleads the fifth is guilty. He's basically more or less said something like that. A lot of times that happens with men. In what regard? Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see what that happens. But yeah, Trump's a little upset about it because he's a little bee that has no spine, and, he's insecure. But on the tech side of things, I've been working on the little laptop over here. So as I talked about, the Wi-Fi card is definitely overheating on this thing. Curious why. How's the stream quality for y'all at? You have your own local AI? I do, with LM Studio. It's nothing to write home about, because you need like an H100i. Let me know what the stream quality is, because I did tweak some settings. And right now I'm getting a lot of packet loss. Or frame loss. Oh. TikTok apparently is being a little bit of a prick right now. It's TikTok that's the problem child, from what I'm noticing. Okay, I don't think it's liking the, So I just did some, firewall tweaks to adjust the, prioritization right before stream. Don't know if they're gonna work or not. But, I did some tweaks a while ago to fix buffer bloat, and I don't think they're working as well as I had hoped. But TikTok is the weak platform. If you're on the other platforms, there's a purple site, a green site, and a red site. You can figure out all of those by going to the links in bio. You can get a better quality experience. But it seems fine. That's weird. So I did set up something. You might like to see this. It's called Dark Stat. So I'm trying to see where the issue is overall with the network connection. It's dropping again. Okay, so max of 4,686 out. Then we're gonna turn that on. All right, so let me show you this. This is something that I set up in the PF Sense. It's called Dark Stat. And basically my firewall is polling all the data going in and out. Now, for some reason, that seems off to me. Only 3 megabits. So, hold on. Capture interfaces. Let's see. Let me. Okay, so we're going to capture a couple interfaces. Save these. Thank you for the follow, Ghost in the Cell. Nice little play on words there. Hold on. Did my alerts not go off? I need to troubleshoot that sometime. I may be moving alerts to local because Stream Elements has not always been reliable. So... okay. That's interesting. I feel like that's not giving me the full story there. I'm gonna have to dig into that a little bit more. I just feel like TikTok is the weak link over here. I may also move to multi-streaming, a platform or something like that, just to get the bandwidth off. But I'm trying to figure out where the actual issue is. So I might pull out ntop ng. I'm trying to figure out how to stat this. What's your opinion on Fortinet? I wouldn't install Fortinet right now. They've seemed to have a lot of issues. Alright. Maybe ntop ng will be a little bit better. We're going to install that on the PF Sense. Because I need to collect analytics and everything. But it seems like TikTok is the weak child. So I've set up some quality of service prioritization for RTMP. And then I set up some, a while ago, I set up some codel limiters. So that way I can avoid buffer bloat, which was the big problem a long time ago. What would be a really nice fix is if I actually had fiber internet, which is still not available in the area. It's annoying because that should really be everywhere in the US at this point. I don't understand why it isn't. That's just... it's just so annoying. Alright, interfaces, status... diagnostics. NTOP NG settings. Let's see the interface. Okay. You must provide, okay, so I have to confirm a password. And then what I'm curious about is when it says interface, which interface is it trying to refer to? Opinions on GPD handhelds. I haven't really dealt too much with GPD. I don't have a lot of time to play with little handhelds and everything like that, unfortunately. So okay, let's see. Just gonna continue. Why are you not letting me in? Okay. I don't know why it had me set a password if it's not actually gonna honor that password. Okay. This seems to be a little bit better. I can't show you it because it's giving me I gotta figure out where these IPs are and everything. But NTOP NG is definitely the way to go. Now, okay. Interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna have to monitor that. So it's looking at lag 0. I'm gonna need to get it to... Huh. So let's go to the hosts. I'm gonna have it collect a bunch of data. So now, let's go over to my machine. I'll have to show you all this in a sec, but... 1 second. Okay, so this is 138. Okay. Oh, this is nice. I can drill into this. Yeah, and I can tell I'm definitely not using anywhere near the bandwidth that I thought I was. So it's not a bandwidth issue. It's an actual connectivity issue. More of a Steam Deck handheld type of guy. Not really. Here, let me show you this. So I have this set up so I can start monitoring my different devices and the connections that are going out there. So as you can see, it's showing what I'm connecting to right now through these different ones. So this big pipe right here is obviously the stream box. So if I pull up, I'm not missing really any due to rendering lag. I'm losing it due to network connectivity, if anything, which is really interesting because there's nothing that's actually telling me what's your gaming handheld. I don't have a gaming handheld. I don't really do gaming on the go. Like when I'm out, I'm out. I don't really do gaming on the go. Okay, so yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. So I'm going to have to play with NTOP NG. Oh, it's nice. I can actually pull up different noise and all that stuff. Yeah, this is a lot better of a system. Yeah, I'm liking that system a lot more for monitoring. So I'm just going to have to keep an eye on this. Now, it's color coding it in a different way. You can electronic my foundation. You can connect to my network. Yeah, so this is really interesting. I'm going to have to monitor this over time, but you can see my bandwidth. I'm not even like halfway even near my up pipe. Which tells me when it's dropping connections, it's something else. That's very interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to play with this a lot more. Let me just pull over. I haven't really used NTOP NG in a long time. Just making sure I'm not exposing anything. Oh, TLS suspicious extension. So I'm also curious if you can top manage. Really? Okay, so we're gonna keep tinkering with the little firewall over here. I'm gonna disable dark stat because I definitely like NTOP NG a lot more. Okay. What was I gonna do? There was something in here. Oh, right. I wanted to check Suricata. Check blocks. No, nothing, interesting there. And then we'll check PF blocker NG. Check the feeds. I would show you this, but this is going to show some private information. I'm curious if... Okay, so it looks like there's some TikTok addresses in there that might be related. Interesting. Well, they're going both to... We may have to just whitelist... What's mcs.tiktokw.us? Obviously, it's related to TikTok. MCS Middle Class Scholarship. No, that's not it. I may have to allow list this. I wonder if that is potentially part of the issue, but then again, it's going to my main desktop as well as my stream box. Anyway, let's, well, I can at least put it in there for now. So we're going to go to my whitelist over here. You can see I've been crafting this whitelist for a while. Some of these I pulled from somewhere else. So, like, look at this. These are all things that have been whitelisted in one way or another. Some of these have been pulled from forums on lists that you should. But I actually ran it through ChatGPT at one point to organize the list and then comment out every single one so that I could actually understand what it was. Alright, so we're gonna put MCS TikTok related. Can I get a song ID, please? Well, the song is actually something that's exclusive to me. I have a few songs for the background that I actually only have in my library. I bought my beats. I used to make music. Well, I used to not make music, but during COVID, I used to MC, and we'd get tracks just for my friends and I to have fun. And there's some tracks that I have that I haven't put any songs or lyrics to, but yeah. Any recommendation for someone who wants to work in data centers and cybersecurity? Data centers and cybersecurity. Usually data centers and cybersecurity are going to be more of a networking kind of thing. You'd be dealing more with network intrusion detection and network intrusion prevention systems. Thank you for the follow, Smurfcat. I do need to set up my TikTok alerts and stuff like that. I'll eventually sit down, get around to all of this. Now... So now that I got that list in there, make sure TikTok related. All right, let's update. And let's just reload DNS blacklist. So the way this works in pfSense is now that I've whitelisted it, it's going to go through all of my dozens of lists, find out which things have been whitelisted, dedupe everything, load it in. Thank you for the follow, Reaper. This is why I tell people pfSense is a really great way to start learning networking out the box. You can get a much better understanding of things. And I have a feeling that may have triggered that issue there. Well, it seems to be doing okay. Let's see. Now, the one issue with the stream system I have, I wonder if it's also the stream plugin. I may have to move everything from this system over here to stream elements. Because ADEM seems to work, but I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. My system overall seems to be rendering just fine. It seems to be an issue of, what do you call it? It seems to be an issue of whatever is processing over there. How long till we reach DEFCON 5? We're getting close to that with people we have running this country. You know, I should probably plug in and use the appliance that I put OpenSense on. Yeah. I mean, I hear good things about OpenSense. I've just been using pfSense for like 15 or so years now. Can't believe it's been that long. And it's been, you know, pretty rock solid, reliable for what I need to do things. And I'm eventually going to get their official hardware, which may possibly help some things out. What mic are you using? It picks up your voice even well when you're talking away from it. It's a Shure SM7B, and then I use a Rodecaster Pro 2 mixer. The Rodecaster Pro 2 mixer is really great because it can actually work on two USB class devices. So it's got two USB-C inputs / outputs. So it connects to my speakers over here. I got JBL monitors and a JBL monitor sub down here. But most mixers you have maybe only connect over one device, over USB to one device, and then the other one gets an auxiliary connection. I don't like that. I want digital connections for both. So this can actually output my microphone to, this can input my microphone to both machines at the same time, and it can also output the audio from both machines at the same time. And I can mix between them. So it's a really great system. Oh, I'm laughing, devil's advocate. I'm just trying to, like, keep focus because I got a few things I want to go through. But yeah, the Rodecaster Pro 2, I would have to say, is definitely one of my favorite investments, along with this microphone over here. Now, what I've also done with the microphone, as you can as you've probably seen with it, is I've customized it. So I've actually had my, little name on there on a custom windscreen, and then I took that windscreen, super glued it to a yellow translucent ring over here I found on Amazon, and then my best friend who does all my graphics had the applique, or the sticker over here of my designs with circuits, and then got my logo on the back on the mic plate, and that's just magnetic. So if I ever need to adjust the mic, you can do that. Now, stock, it has a sure little plate, but obviously, branding. YPF Sense. I've just been using it for 15 years or so. I remember tinkering with it a little bit when it was mono wall. So, I mean, I mean, yeah. I'm really curious about something. Settings. I'm gonna have to tinker with that a little bit. Now, the weird thing is, I can see my stream on TikTok and it looks just fine. And when I go back to look at my video, it looks fine. But then it says it's dropping frames over here. So if I am, in fact, dropping frames or quality or anything like that, please let me know. I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to my tech. So I want to make sure y'all get a good experience. Anyway, you were just dropping for a minute. On TikTok? What about on the Kick and the Twitch and the YouTubes? Because I'm trying to do that everywhere, but what I may end up doing is I may suck it up in a couple of months and just buy like a multi-streamer, because I think that's part of the issue. For some base components of setting up a home server, I have some extra parts. Just a device that can serve data. Could be a Raspberry Pi. Could be an old computer. Could be a laptop. Anything. TikTok feed just went back 5 seconds. Interactions may be better on TikTok, but TikTok isn't really built for live streaming, and as we know, TikTok will censor the crap out of me, and I've been banned so many times from TikTok Live for nothing major. Anyway, while we're waiting for my energy drink to kick in, I've been tinkering with this little laptop over here, and I want y'all to see something. So, of course, I've been using it with Ethernet for a while. Where's the remote? I was just, like, tinkering with setting up my little stuff and everything. But, I can get this pulled up over here. It's actually working on my data over here. I have it with a Mint SIM card. Really, devil? I'm gonna ping Google. Now, for some reason, the cell signal hasn't been the greatest. I still got to figure that out. Oh, it's disconnected. Doi! Probably helps if you turn the connection on. Yeah, TikTok is being a little prick. Hold on. I don't know why TikTok is like cutting me out every so often. Alright, let's see. I'm actually gonna do something. Okay, so TikTok is the one that's dropping input. Hey, Cuban, what's going on? Thanks for joining. I'm legit sleepy. I'll show you tomorrow. Mad love. See you later, devils. Happy hacking. Have a good night. Yeah, TikTok seems to be the one that's problematic for the, streams, from what I'm noticing. Huh. We're just doing some troubleshooting and tinkering. I don't know. Maybe I need to stop focusing on it. Maybe I just got to accept that, yeah, I'm definitely going to start looking at how I can multi-stream this a little bit better. I don't think it's the bandwidth issue. Because if it was a bandwidth issue, all of them would be having issues at the same time. Things that make you go, Is there a way to find Windows ISO for Mac VM machine? What, are you trying to run Windows in a VM on Mac? It's not the easiest thing. You probably have to use, like, Parallels or something like that. But back to what I was saying, back to what I've been tinkering with. So, as you can see, the laptop's working. The little mini laptop that I got going. It's pinging Google right now. And it's doing it over a cell connection. Okay, see that? In the corner over there, the signal bar? That's not your typical Wi-Fi. That's cell signal. Now, of course, it's crap in the basement. But it works. I've proven the concept that I was looking at doing. The latency is a little high because it's a cell modem, of course. Almost no packet loss. You're expecting some loss with the cell phone, to be honest. And a minimum of 37.4 milliseconds latency and an average of 63 milliseconds. That's not too bad. This is totally doable as my little DEF CON machine. So that way I can actually use this. Because the idea that I had for this was I wanted to bring this as a mini laptop when I go to DEF CON. Have it sit on my lap. Something I can easily turn on. And then just open up notes. So I got LibreOffice in here. It's not the fastest thing because this is the stock CPU with the MX8M Plus. And eventually I'll upgrade to the RK30, what is it, $33.99, $35.99. But as you can see, text editor in dark mode. You know, because I like my dark mode. I didn't actually configure LibreOffice. That came pre-installed on the Debian that I set this up with. Debian, and it's not any super custom Debian. It's the one straight from MNT. That's officially for this laptop. The cell modem was seen out of the box. I plugged it in. As we saw last night, it did see it. Before the stream, I put the SIM card in. And then all I had to do was look up the APN settings, which was as simple as put the name of the service in, put, you know, the same APN settings you get on Mint Mobile or whatever provider you're going to use, and ba-bam, it works. Now, of course, I'm going to try not using cell data while I'm in the house, especially because Ethernet's going to work much better, and we have Ethernet over here. So that's really cool. I'm really happy. So even though it's not going to be able to work with Wi-Fi properly, that is the minimum goal I was looking to set out to do. The Wi-Fi is going to get fixed when we okay, I'm going to try something. We're going to try something today. Let's see if this will fix the stream. I'm going to stop streaming again. And we're going to see if that fixes my latency issue, and if it's just a matter of I'm doing too much at once, which then solidifies that I need to go into multi-streamer. Now, what I would do for a multi-streamer is I need to figure that out. I may end up hosting a box on AWS, DigitalOcean, Linode, something like that, but I need to figure out the bandwidth. But when I last ran the numbers on the bandwidth that would be crunching, it was like a half dozen the other kind of situation. Between like getting like a multi-streamer or just doing it myself. So we shall see. But yeah, so I'm currently only streaming to 3 places right now. I dropped the green site, and we will see how well this fares, because the QoS obviously wasn't fixing it. And if I remember, when we were only doing 3, it was working just fine. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't really have much of a following on Kick, so it's not going to really hurt me anywhere. I also have some videos we're going to go through together. I found some that I wanted to watch with y'all. I'm going to be curious to see if this actually fixes my stream issue. And then, if so, what is the issue? Let's get into some tech stuff. God, I feel like my energy drink cannot hit me fast enough. So we have Save It for Parts over here. The guy that did the surplus military laptop that we found him with. And he had a video a day ago. Is that really a government spy plane over my neighborhood? So apparently, there's, it's a follow-up or something like that. Well, let's see what he's got in here. We got some ham and other videos.
Circling my neighborhood, and I gave a couple reasons why I thought it was a government spy plane. It was flying a circular observation pattern. It had a ton of antennas and cameras on the bottom. It was not putting out a public transponder or ADSB location. And the markings were almost identical to known spy planes that the FBI used to operate around 2015 or so. Now, I've known about these government spy planes for a while. There have been a ton of news articles about them, YouTube videos, various news reports about these planes circling.
Well, chat, I guess this is one more thing we're now going to be paranoid about. Everyone, grab your tinfoil. We're going down the ride.
Different neighborhoods around the US for the past decade or so, spying on protests, spying on journalists, spying on supposed criminals, things like that. I thought it was just a known fact of life that here in the US we are...
The question is it really spying if you're just kind of there, or is it just like watching you? Every day you move. Like that, like... I don't know what I'm doing.
Surveilled by planes like this all the time, but there were a surprising number of people in the comments who just outright said, no, this doesn't happen. This is a Google Earth plane. This is a LiDAR survey plane. You're completely wrong. These planes don't exist. So whether or not those people are the FBI agents, I don't know. But yeah, there is a ton of documentation out there that these planes do exist, that they are flying around spying on us. And it's unfortunately not paranoia, not a conspiracy.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, this shouldn't really surprise anyone that this is actually potentially an actual thing. I mean, we've literally been using spy planes since, what, the 50s, 60s? We originally had the U-2, if I remember, and then we had the SR-71 Blackbirds. Well, nowadays, we don't need anything like that. Strap a Cessna with a bunch of high-definition cameras and some antennas to collect up whatever. Now, the issue is being able to tell what's there. Because, you know, they're so far away. So
this is actually something that the U.S. government does in its own country, on its own citizens, without a warrant. And
oh, yeah, got to turn off my background music.
Data, not just on one crime suspect, if that's who they're after. It can collect...
Wait, is he rocking a Mythbusters t-shirt? I want a Mythbusters t-shirt.
Videos, they can collect all kinds of voice, text messages, all kinds of stuff through devices like Stingray, through high-resolution cameras, thermal...
Speaking of Stingray, one thing I'm going to be setting up probably this weekend is my Ray Hunter, and I'm going to try to record a video on this for YouTube. I have a lot of YouTube videos that are going to be coming as well. I have a couple of the videos from when we were reacting, like Jay's 2 cents and a couple other things. Not everything I do on the streams ends up going on the YouTubes, but a fair amount do. So, yeah. But I also have like 4 other videos I recorded, and then I want to record a video on the Ray Hunter. Ray Hunter only detects, right? Yeah. Yeah, you're not doing anything more than that. The only thing it can do more than being a Ray Hunter is you can actually use this as an actual hotspot at the same time. Basically, what'll happen is when you get this little device here, you do have to have at least a SIM card in here. It doesn't have to be activated, but we're going to flash the firmware on this. Here, let me get back. We're going to flash the firmware on here. So there's like a little green line at the top, and if that ever turns red, supposedly you have issues, and then you can plug this in over USB or directly connect to it over Wi-Fi with a device, and then dump the PCAP file off of here and read it in Wireshark, and then see what's going on. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be quite a few people when I go to DEF CON in a week or so that are probably going to have these similar devices, because I know when we were at my local DEF CON group, I think we had 4 of us all had the same idea, and we all came to the meeting right after these were released with our Ray Hunters. The only reason I bought another one was, for some reason I can't find the original one I set up, and it's like 20, 30 bucks, and I still haven't found it, so I'm just like, what the hell, you know, 30 Bezos bucks.
Cameras, they can zoom in and basically read people's license plates, see where people are going, what stores they're going into, and I think this should be kind of a concern to the general public, even if you are not a drug kingpin, even if you are not a...
Oh, I totally agree that when it comes to privacy, I think people have the wrong mindset when they're like, I have nothing to hide, so I have nothing to fear. That is such a flawed mindset for things, because the government has done a lot of things that are unethical and gone after people for whatever reasons in such wrong ways. What all gear are you taking to DEF CON? My backpack, a couple laptops, my clothes. I'm not bringing too much. Couple phones. Not too much more than I actually usually do anyway. I've actually been cutting down things. I will be bringing this guy definitely to B-sides and DEF CON because it's so small. It's compact. I probably will have my Purism laptop with me as well, but that's this guy over here, the Cube's laptop that we were updating last night on stream. I'll have this as well. And then, of course, I'll have, like, my camera for, recording videos. I'll have my camera for, one of the Samsung phone so that I can record content, things like that. Man, I can finally feel the content. The caffeine is hitting me, but apparently the words are not hitting me right.
And now, who really knows what this data is being used for, and who knows what it's going to be used for in the future? This data that they collect doesn't just get deleted when they're done with an investigation. It goes into an FBI database or some other three-letter agency's server farm. And even if you're not doing something illegal today in your state, maybe a future administration in your state or federally is going to say, we don't like something that people did back then. There's been a lot of talk recently about...
Yeah, that happens way more often than people think. What I tell people all the time is what you're doing legally today may not be legal tomorrow. And then eventually they may collect things that were legal at the time as things to hold over you later. That's the one issue that you need to understand when it comes to a lot of privacy invasion stuff and things like that.
AI. So in the future, it's going to be even easier to go back and use this data. For example, as a purely theoretical situation, let's say a future administration decides we don't want to give Social Security benefits to drug users. So they go back to these old databases from these planes that have collected video from the last decade, and they say, okay, ChatGPT, show me everyone who walked into a pot dispensary for the last 10 years and take them off of the Social Security registry because we don't want to give handouts to drug users. Or, hey, ChatGPT, show me everyone who walked
into a very good point.
Show in the last 10 years and walked out carrying a case. Now show me their license plate and where do they live? And let's put them on the National Gun Registry. Now, I give these as purely theoretical examples, but...
You see what I'm saying? What's legal today may not be legal tomorrow, and then they can use that to basically rake you over the coals. And this is what I always tell people. It's not paranoia. It's just the reality of the situation is we've seen that very often. And if you think that the government won't actually do that, look at what they're doing right now where they're requiring unrealistic expectations to be able to meet a lot of subsidy, welfare, whatever programs so that many people can actually still function. Like they're requiring that you work to get Medicaid, but, it's like this catch-22 of a lot of these people can't work on Medicaid, which is why they need Medicaid, or, things like that. I'm not going to get too in the weeds, but that is the reality of the situation. Then they can collect this data to use against you. Or let's say you have people like with the immigration issues. They suddenly, start going after people like it wasn't long ago. Churches were a safe place where people could go and, nobody would bother you in the church, that was like kind of seen as like a sanctuary. And then suddenly law enforcement starts busting the door down and, they can do whatever. And then you have this tyrannical, autocratic, fascist, whatever word you want to use, government come in and enforce their rules. They have the information from prior administrations that at that time may have been benign that is now being used malicious. And we're seeing that now even with people that have autism. What is it? The Health and Human Services, I think it's, is it HHS that... what's his face is over, the dude that had the brain worm, things like that. Names are not working well with me right now. The caffeine's finally hitting the brain. But they're going after people's medical RFK. Thank you. They're going after people's medical records, and then there's already been talk of like these facilities, camps to re-educate people and stuff like that. And that's not my words. That's literally what he was talking about, like things that we can detox them and all that. And it's all based on flawed pseudoscience. And that's the danger of these kind of things. And that's why I think there needs to be even more reinforcement around laws, because people, for example, think about HIPAA, but HIPAA doesn't protect you from a legal subpoena in many cases. There's a lot of reasons that healthcare confidentiality can be broken just in the name of, law enforcement. RFK Jr., HHS. Okay. Thank you. Considering making a Ray Hunter $30 now is tempting. Do it. Totally do it. It's pretty straightforward. I will be honest and say it's a lot easier to set up with Linux when I was tinkering with it. There's some ways to do it on Mac. Windows, again, this was a couple months ago. I don't think it was doable. You can probably do it through Windows Subsystem for Linux. I haven't really tested that, but yeah.
There is evidence of the FBI going to gun shows and recording everyone's license plates. So this is the kind of stuff that actually happens, and it can happen much more efficiently from a high-altitude aircraft with high-resolution cameras than sending out FBI agents to camp out at dispensaries or gun shows. Now, I wanted to address the particular plane that I saw in the
Manifest Destiny post from DHS.
Zoom in enough and use my
No, I did not. Can you drop a link in chat? I'll take a look.
Number, or at least a couple possibilities. I couldn't quite make it out, but I looked up all the possibilities, and then somebody in the comments of the last video actually confirmed what I found. This is the aircraft that I saw. It is registered to a company down in Texas, and if you look up this company, they own a bunch of planes like this with very similar sensors, similar antennas. When you look up the company, they do have a legitimate looking Facebook page, but they also show up in a bunch of news articles as being known to be a fake company, a shell company, a front for the DEA. Yeah. So the Drug Enforcement Agency in this case, not the FBI, although there are examples of the FBI using...
We're going after your marijuana fields. You know, even though that stuff's being legal. By the way, I've really thought about adopting a retired DEA dog when all these dogs, no longer are good to go after the French yes with a D. Because I think it'd be funny to just track down people's stuff and then go like, mine! Even though I don't do the stuff anymore. It'd just be funny.
Basically identical planes with identical
give it back, but it'd just be funny.
All their planes from the same supplier. From
it's not legal. What's not legal?
Very similar equipment on these. So
adopting a drug sniffing dog.
Three-letter agency federal spy plane for spying on its own citizens.
I know a few people that have.
DEA is one of the less shady three-letter agencies. They're just going to go after drug dealers, and you and I aren't drug dealers. I don't even use drugs. I'm too much of a square. So I shouldn't care about what the DEA is doing. I shouldn't care that they're flying around my neighborhood recording some drug dealer off in the distance. Well, there are also reports of these DEA aircraft also using Stingray to capture
it's legal in many different states.
Using high-resolution cameras to capture a wide area. So it's kind of the same
It's eventually going to get legal at the federal level. It's only a matter of time.
Probably going into similar databases. They're sharing it between agencies.
The only reason they haven't legalized it so fast is it would take away a lot of the DEA's revenue.
So if the FBI wants to go over and look up what did the DEA capture, well, I'm sure there's probably little, if anything, keeping them from doing that. I'm sorry if this got a little darker or more serious than a lot of my videos. I usually don't get into political type stuff, and I really don't think that domestic spying should be a political issue. It should be something people on both sides of the political spectrum are concerned with, because they could use this for...
I agree. This shouldn't really be a political issue. I mean, we're talking about things since the Patriot Act being abused, and then suddenly, like whoever's in, control suddenly is for surveillance and stripping people's rights away. I mean, what was it not too long ago? And I know I bring this up like almost every stream. We had the backdoors installed into telecommunication systems for legal warrants and all of that. And that system got compromised by Salt Typhoon, and it was so bad the FBI and CISA gave a joint statement urging people to use end-to-end encrypted apps, despite after many years the FBI has raked Apple over the coals and all these other companies because they don't have access to things, because they want to, you know, have access to everything in case there's, you know, crime. But yeah. Let's
all kinds
figure
of
out
stuff
if
now
Instagram
that's perfectly
embeds
legal, like
other
I said, but
information links.
might
Okay.
be unpopular under a future government administration, and you might suddenly find yourself on the wrong list unintentionally, even though you did nothing wrong at the time. And in the last video, I feel like I took it not seriously enough. I just said, oh, look, there's one of the government spy planes that are over all the time, surveilling everybody in the US. Haha, it's just a fact of life. And I got to think about it. That's really sad that it's become so common, that it's become so universally known and accepted that
the irony that we actually have turned into what we tried to fight with the Soviet Union and the secret police and all of that stuff landed the free my ass.
Spy planes are out there that we just laugh it off when we see one over the house. It's like, no, haha, the feds are recording everybody's cell phones again. So if you're a subscriber to this channel, you probably didn't join for government surveillance rants. You joined because you're interested in radio stuff. So let's look at some relevant radio hardware.
So I do want to pick up a Hack RF Portapack eventually. It seems relevant to all the stuff I'm doing. I do have a vector network analyzer coming in, which is going to be good for my antennas when I set that up after I get back from DEF CON. But, yeah, I definitely want to get a Hack RF Portapack now that I've been getting more and more into signal intelligence and radio and all of that stuff, especially with ham radio stuff.
A lot of people in the comments mentioned that I could be running my own ADS-B tracker, my own aircraft tracker on something like a Hack RF1.
I got my own aircraft tracker with ADS-B. It's my, DEF CON badge. This was the Aerospace Village from last DEF CON. Yes, I'm one of the few, the proud, the Aerospace Village badge holders. Soldered in the connector over here. It wasn't my best solder job. I'm kind of jank with that stuff. A little SD card over here. And if I remember... How do I turn this on? It's been a minute. I had it down here, but it's been a minute. I just wonder there's like a switch or something. Oh, there we go. Probably the button that says power. So, yeah, it's not going to display anything because, there's no antenna. But you can easily, you know, connect this up to an antenna. I have a video on YouTube of me doing this a while ago. I drove a long way to, the airport just to actually show this off to you. And yeah, but you can track your planes in there. If you get the little radar scope. Yeah, I gotta charge this thing. Where's DEF CON located? Las Vegas. Well, the main DEF CON's in Las Vegas. They also have started doing ones in China, and they have one launching in Bahrain. Can't wait to find out Terry Davis is right about everything. Concise yet profound. We talking about Temple OS, the Holy Linux, the Holy operating system?
So this shows a list of all the public ADS-B aircraft transponders that are out there. And some folks mentioned in the comments that the transponder that air traffic control sees is a little different than the ADS-B squad.
Well, air traffic control is seeing ADS-B as well as UAT. Not all planes use ADS-B. Some use UAT. ADS-B is at 1090 megahertz, so 1.09 gigahertz. And then you have UAT, which is at 978 megahertz. So ADS-B is required per FAA regulations if flying at greater than 18,000 feet. If staying below 18,000 feet, UAT is allowed. But most people go for ADS-B anyway, because at the cost of installing it, it's not that much more of a jump to get ADS-B. So that's the situation there. And by the way, TikTok is crapping out again on the stream or something like that again. I don't know what's up with the signal. So infrequent and it's annoying. But, yeah. So, let me know if you're getting issues on the stream or anything like that.
I have not gotten into the fine details of that.
In fact, give me 1 second here. Twitch is stuttering for me. Okay, well, interestingly enough, Twitch is not reporting any issues.
Something that's been on my to-do list for a while, and there are other websites than the ones I mentioned. I said that these spy planes don't show up on Flight Radar or Flight Aware, but apparently some of them do show up on things like ADS-B Exchange, so I'll throw a link to that down below. And that's more of a crowdsourced aircraft tracker that uses people's devices like this connected to the internet to find those aircraft, put them on a map.
I wonder if it's that it's automatically adjusting.
And again, it's pretty easy to spot a surveillance flight because they're going to be flying in big circles or maybe big loops or some kind of pattern that keeps their camera focused in the center on an area of interest. I brought this outside since it's a little better for picking up radio transmissions, but it's actually worse for filming. So I'll try to see if we can show this. Here's a couple planes we picked up just in the last few minutes. If I left this running longer, it would pick up more. We can get more information about them from the ADS-B system. Yep. Right, we have another odd aircraft circling the city with stuff hanging off the bottom, which is always kind of interesting. Let's see if we can find out a little bit more about this one. That plane did look a bit like a Cirrus, and it looks like it is in fact a Cirrus design. And I
really wish I had fiber internet already.
This one is another law enforcement agency. It's just state-level law enforcement this time, not federal. All right, so another little radio gadget that is pertinent to this type of conversation is called an Orbic hotspot. Now, this might look like a regular old Wi-Fi hotspot that uses a 4G or 5G.
$5 says it's a Ray Hunter. I'm betting he set up a Ray Hunter.
SIM card. This one is a little special because of some custom firmware that's been released for it. And this is called Ray Hunter or Stingray Hunter, and it's supposed to give you some heads up if your phone is being affected by a Stingray device, if some government agency is operating one of these cell phone simulators, one of these fake cell phone towers. If you follow computer security topics or just general nerd.
I just want to make it very clear. I was doing this before it was cool.
This has been in the news lately. I'll put some links to that down below as well. I'm going to go ahead and install the custom firmware onto...
Oh, look at that. He's using Linux.
...to the Orbic hotspot. This took a few tries. I'm using Linux. I could not get this to work at all on Windows. Now the...
Hey, told you. What did I say earlier in the stream?
Only difference we have with the device is this little green line on the top, and supposedly if there's a Stingray device operating, or if your service degrades...
I told you all about this. I've had TikToks and other videos. I just haven't made a YouTube video about a Ray Hunter, but it's coming.
Unencrypted state for some reason, that little green line will turn red, and that is a good indication that your communications are no longer secure. They're no longer encrypted. This isn't a complete fail-safe device to know when you're being snooped on, but it is a possible indication, and it's a really interesting tool that once you get through all the...
What type of tape do you use on the bridge of your glasses? I don't.
On Linux or Windows or whatever.
There's no tape here.
Anybody can have in their pocket. So I've had this thing running for a few days, and isn't that interesting? We have a red line at the top. So that is a possible indicator that somebody has been messing around with the cell phone service in the area. We'll have to look at the logs on this device to see what that actually means. All right, to look at the logs, we go to the Wi-Fi network on the Orbic device. So
I was telling you all about this.
Warning. Looks like an LTE cell advertised a 3G cell for priority 0. This is a high severity
Now, it should be noted that you don't need cell service for this to work, but if you do get proper cell service, not only can you use it as a hotspot, but you can also get more detailed information about the connection and everything.
Looks like we also had quite a few warnings on the 21st, and those were basically all the same thing. An LTE cell advertising a 3G cell for priority 0. 3G is gone, basically. There is supposed to be no more 3G, so that does seem a little bit...
Not entirely true. If I recall correctly, there's still some areas that have 3G because 5G is harder to propagate over an entire area just due to the nature of that spectrum. 4G is a little bit better at propagation, but 3G is still very good at propagating a signal.
Suspicious. So I'm not 100% sure what this means, but it seems like on Saturday there was potentially a fake cell phone tower active from about 7:47 p.m. until 9:47 p.m. or thereabouts. Now, this wasn't necessarily a stingray, and it wasn't necessarily an aircraft-based stingray. I went back to ADSB Exchange's historic view here, and we did have the Minnesota State Patrol helicopter flying around in that time frame. Boy, this website is obnoxious. It's got this giant ad that covers the whole screen whenever you move your mouse.
3G is CDMA, which Verizon no longer uses. Verizon is 100% LTE. Well, what I'm saying is not everyone's on... 3G is CDMA on Verizon, but it's GSM over on AT&T and T-Mobile.
And I've just been...
By the way, CDMA is in the minority of cellular technologies. Primarily, countries went with GSM. I think it was only the US and China that had CDMA.
Using the default one that came with it, even though it always says no service. So I don't know if that affects anything as to these warnings, but I guess good to know that this will work.
Yeah, Ray Hunter spotted. I was building another one. I mean, I'll have a video specifically about Ray Hunter as well, because I made a TikTok about a year ago when this came out. No, it wasn't a year ago. It was like a few months ago. I think it came out around March or so. I remember I made a TikTok within a few days of it being released and demonstrating the device. I unfortunately didn't happen to come across any stingrays as much as I tried, but that specific device is locked to Verizon networks. Yeah, but there is supposedly a way to run it on AT&T and stuff like that. Not this specific one, but there's different ones that you can install Ray Hunter on. They just had it as a proof of concept software.
Random SIM card in it. Now, as a YouTuber, I try to get through all of the comments on all of my videos. Picked one up shortly after the video.
Yeah, I had a few dozen that said they got it.
Really pushed that to the limit. There were so many comments, and so many identical comments, either of the, it's just...
Does it only work with Verizon? This one does. This one only works with Verizon. I haven't found a fully unlocked one that runs this. I have, but I've also not really spent that much time looking into it because I have so many different projects I want to finish up. I need to stop starting and start finishing my projects. Like, the fact that this has been in my hands for several months with all the pieces, and I only just set this up last week, should tell you everything.
Following me personally category, yes, I'm fine with the government doing this because they're only spying on people I don't like category. Yeah, a lot of the comments in there were basically the same 3 or 4 things, so I did not get through every comment in that video. I hope I've addressed all of the genuine concerns or questions that people had, like, is it just Google Earth? No, it's not. Is it just a LiDAR flight? No, it's not. I can show you examples of what some of those look like on flight path data. I can show you examples of what training flights look like on flight path data. I can show you examples of what photography, aerial photography looks like on flight data. And these surveillance flights do not look like any of those things. They are a very specific flight pattern. And if you notice a plane doing this, there's a pretty good chance that it's surveilling somebody or something somewhere. This has also been going on for so long that these planes are showing up as government surplus. You can actually buy a government surplus spy plane on websites like GSA Auctions or GovDeals. Normally all the spook stuff has been removed, but sometimes they'll still have interesting antennas, they'll have interesting consoles inside, and you can buy all of the camera pods, all of the sensor pods, or at least the prior generation of them.
All right, chat. If I become a successful content creator, mark my words, that's going to be a project we do. Oh, what did Chief do? Well, he bought a spy plane. Why? He wanted to get spy equipment working in there. Why? He was bored and wanted to tinker.
Even if you are the type of person who says this is perfectly fine, I'm okay with the government recording cell phone calls, I'm okay with the government flying around recording everything they possibly can because they're not using it against me, you do have to kind of consider, is that always going to be the case? Again, the government's been doing this stuff for decades now.
Oh, you'll probably catch some stuff in DC. I was planning to take mine to DEF CON as well so that I can see if there's anything I can catch. It'll be interesting to see what's in Vegas and everything, and we can all compare notes on everything as we go to DEF CON.
Both Republican and Democrat administrations, and I don't think they throw away that data, so who knows.
I'd like to actually be able to get that connected to GPS so that we can correlate the GPS to that to know when and where.
Even if it's not affecting you personally today, maybe it will affect you or someone you know in the future. That's about all I've got for this video. I think we're going to wrap this up. I will throw some links down below to news articles that I've found about some of this stuff if you want to read more about it, and then links to the resources that I mentioned, things like the custom firmware for that Orbic hotspot that will maybe give you an idea if there's some kind of...
So overall, you know, nice video. To me, just to be honest, like the fact that I, was already playing with this, knew what a hack RF port-a-pack is, ADSB, stuff like that. To me, a lot of this, it just feels like common sense. To me. But then again, make this very clear, I've been in the field of cybersecurity and understanding privacy violations and stuff on multiple levels for so many years that to me, this is not really mind-blowing. But to a lot of people, they really have their heads buried in the sand that they really think, no, the government would never do that to us. And I'm like, buddy, the government can do that, has done that, and will continue to do that.
Cell phone shenanigans going on, websites you can use to track aircraft, things of that nature. So if you're interested in finding out more about this, check out the links down below in the description. As usual, thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.
Using a GPD Win handheld as a shenanigans box.
Support this channel and
I don't really know how I feel about it. I'd rather get this little guy set up. This little MNT Pocket Reform. I keep seeing those little handhelds, but the issue that I have with them is they just do not, what's the word? They're not that really repairable and stuff, and I want devices that I can keep alive. Especially on the more open source side of things. So that's just my 2 cents. Let me see. Let's pull up the full playlist I had over here. Things we wanted to watch. Okay, so we have AT&T's Unix Epic PC failure. I'll save that for another day because I feel like I'm going to have to go deep into that one. Backyard ham radio, preparing for parks in the air. So, parks in the air, just for everyone to have an understanding, is when you take your ham radio and you bring it to a park. There's also SOTA, which is Summit on the Air. The reason why we do this is we try to get DX contacts wherever we can. It's actually looks like a really fun thing. I'm planning to get a POTA set up maybe next year. As you know, I'm starting with this ham shack over here. I want to get that finished. Then what I'm going to probably do is at Hamvention next year, I'm going to pick up a secondhand rugged laptop like a Panasonic Toughbook or a Dell, rough Toughbook or something like that. because I can pick them up for a few $100 there. I saw them for like $300, $400, $500. I didn't pick one up earlier because I was like, look, I am going to get it. It's going to sit there for a long time, and I'm not going to do what I need to do with it. And then I want to install Linux on it, of course. Set it up with something like Andy's Ham Radio Linux or something like that. After I learn a lot of the basics with my ham shack over here. And then connect it to my laptop so I can then do digital data modes and everything like that. So I think this would be a fun little project out there. Like, imagine next year, we go to the DEF CON shoot. We're out in the middle of the desert. It's a great place to do some ham radio contacts. I could set that up. People could play with a little bit of radio. But I'm going to make this very clear. I'm not letting anyone touch my setup unless you are a licensed operator. I can't budge on that. I'm sorry. I could get in trouble if somebody actually finds out about it. Not that I'm thinking anybody at DEF CON would snitch, but it's the law with, ham licensing. Popping in during some downtime at work, picked up tonight to cover for someone else. Nice. How you doing, sugar? I gotta look into that laptop thing for you, too.
So you want to give POTA a try. Awesome. My suggestion is...
I haven't seen this guy before. Smaller creator. Even I've got more subs than him. Not trying to do that as a flex or anything. I'm just saying I'm still very, very small.
Before you drive an hour away to some beautiful location, go someplace more familiar and test out your equipment. Like your backyard.
My backyard ain't that big. I got a decent backyard, but it ain't that big. I'd like to have an area that big.
Well, as I alluded to, I'm out in my backyard. It is a broiling hot South Carolina July weekend, but I just couldn't resist the urge.
It would be cool with even a tablet. Looking for something I can take to work with me and do schoolwork. Yeah, I'll dig into that in a little bit. I still need to get ham certified. I hear it's not too bad of a process. So there's 3 different levels. Now, I only know about the U.S. process here. So the first level is technician, then you have general, then you have amateur extra. So technician is pretty easy. You can knock that out, honestly. If you go to hamradioprep.com, use code ChiefGeek3D, ChiefGeek3D, you can actually get 10% off. I bought the entire 3 series of lessons. I think it was about $80. That's technician, general, and amateur extra, all 3 of those. And then I also pair that with Ham Radio Prep, was it hamstudy.org, sorry. That was Ham Radio Prep. Hamstudy.org is free for the, practicing tests and all that stuff. Ham Radio Prep gives you videos and text that you can actually go through it, start understanding the lessons and some practice tests, and they quiz you after each section. Then get the and then there's also the ARRL, the Amateur Radio Relay League, or something like that. I don't know what it stands for, but basically they're the largest organization of ham operators out there. You can go get their textbooks, about $25, $30. They have 3 different levels. I have 2 of them. I have the technician and the amateur extra. It's been helpful. So I use that in conjunction with the other 2 things I mentioned. And technician, you can honestly spend like 2, 3, 4 afternoons, like a couple hours, and go through almost all of it. And the technician license is mostly about safety and basics and, what channels you can operate on. Technician gives you just entry-level access primarily to VHF, UHF. And then when you go to general class, that's where the real fun begins. And then amateur extra is just giving you some more slivers of spectrum that you don't have access to in general. The other thing that's cool with the general license is that you actually now have the ability to have reciprocity with other countries. So let's say I go to Europe. A lot of places in Europe will have reciprocity with the American general license or Canada. And all I have to do is like a slash, whatever the designation is for the U.S. over there. So I can use my regular call sign, slash whatever. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but when I travel, I will look at that. It's not been in my test material, so don't knock me on that. I would tell most people to shoot for your general. Start with technician. Then you can like immediately pick up a ham radio, a transceiver, start doing some DX contacts, everything like that. Find out what the repeaters are in your area. You can do that pretty easily. ARRL has a list about that. And then once you connect into them, you can connect to other people here. Fire alarm here. Got to be on alert. Should only be here till 11. Check when things settle. Okay. Yeah, so, you know, you get your technician license. It'll get you involved to meet people. And ham radio is like the original social network, if you think about it, because you get to go meet people. You get to, you know, find out cool things. There's also a tech net that was going on once a week where people would actually connect into the repeater, and we'd talk about all sorts of tech problems. Like somebody was talking about generators and setting it up. You have people that were talking about setting up their, you know, their own radio and everything like that. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it. And then once you actually get into, like, say, the general class, you can start doing really fun things, like I said, and start doing, like, what I'm going to do is do HF and start doing different data modes and stuff. But first I have to get my setup going. Then I'm going to try hitting some of the beacon networks across the world to see how far I can propagate. But what's also going to be interesting is I have a coworker of mine. He works remotely. He's, I think, close to, I want to say like 300 or so miles away. He's actually close enough that HF doesn't work, and VHF, UHF doesn't either. So what we're probably going to have to do is have some fun doing an NVIS, which is near vertical, I forget. Basically, you have your antenna like going very, very sharp at an angle. So it's like near vertical so that it bounces back down, because on the HF, you're bouncing on the ionosphere, whereas VHF, UHF is line of sight. For the most part. I mean, there's some nuance around it, bends around, things like that. But there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. And then when you get your ham license, you also learn more about radio propagations and things like that. Like, we had an issue at work where the Wi-Fi wasn't working, and we had just had some new cell repeaters installed. And one of the first things one of the upper management said was like, oh, could it be the repeaters causing interference and all that? And because I am knowledgeable about the radio systems now and radio frequency, the art and science of it, I immediately was able to respond back, no, looking at the different providers, AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, they operate in these spectrums over here, whereas Wi-Fi is in 2.4, 5 gigahertz, and 6, and it has enough a space between the broadcasts of both that they won't interfere with each other. And, you know, gave the explanation of the FCC wouldn't allow that kind of interference, yada, 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 basically easily quashing their concerns of the repeaters causing Wi-Fi issues. Turned out it was a completely unrelated issue, after all, but because I had that knowledge, which a lot of people in the building didn't have, the only other person that happened to know it was, again, that same coworker I mentioned earlier. So you learn a lot more about these things, and then it starts demystifying the voodoo around radio frequencies and being able to do Wi-Fi and everything. Someone was vaping in their room and set off the fire alarm? Oh my God. I have a thriving community nearby for ham and all things radio, even Meshtastic. Nice! I'm going to eventually set up a Meshtastic node on my house, but the problem was they want a few $100s, I think, to get a node. I think I'm probably going to suck it up and spend a few $100s if I'm going to go get a scissor lift, so that way I can just prop up another pipe on there so I can get a Meshtastic node, get some high line of sight, or I may just end up sticking it on the side of the house, and I'll figure it out after DEF CON. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I do want to get everything set up for my ham radio by end of August. Either way, yeah, definitely, Nick. Get into ham radio. I mean, it's a very valuable information I honestly wish that amateur radio was taught when I actually learned a lot of networking, because it would have solved so many issues early on in my career that I am now demystifying.
Get outside and play a little radio.
Back to the video.
So I thought to myself, what can I do to encourage some folks to give Parks on the Air a try?
Set up a mesh-tastic node on the side of my house and did not get much coverage. Yeah, it depends on your antenna. It depends on your setup. You know, do you have interference from different things? There's a lot that goes into it. Now, mesh-tastic is a great way to start learning about radios because it's unlicensed, but there's a lot that goes into it. And you'll learn more things as you get in a ham radio to better your mesh-tastic experience.
People would have to bring, not specifically like the 818, as we've talked about in many other videos, but just general categories. What do you have to make sure you bring with you when you head out to one of these beautiful locations and attempt your first activation? So category by category, let's take a look. So here you have the basics of what I bring. It's going to be a little bit different for you, obviously.
Pretty straightforward what he's got there. He's got, ooh, that's a nice little Yaesu little guy over there. I don't know which Yaesu that is, but this little radio over there. And then it looks like he's got some, I'm just, you know, trying to poke around, see what he's got. So he's got definitely a power block over here. It's probably just a battery. But it's kind of interesting that he's using a car charger for that, because with that kind of socket over there, you can probably allow at most maybe 50 watts, but that might be pushing it. Because I know I have a radio in my car that I hook up from time to time that has a 25 watt. You definitely don't want to push a full 100 watt system from a socket over there. You want to use, here, I actually can show you. These are some wires from, one of my radios I was setting up over here. So as you can see, I've got bare wires. So I got bare wires over here. Oh, nice. And it's fused, and then it connects right to the radio over here. But anyway. Yeah, you'll enjoy ham radio, and as we say, 7.3, which is, you know, short code for best regards. So he's got his book over here for logging his contacts, and that's a tuner. So what that's going to do is help you fix your standing wave ratio, because you're going to have a mismatch in impedances, so that can actually cause some reflections in power and all sorts of things. But yeah, we'll get into that.
You don't have the exact same transceiver and the exact same antenna. The whole point of showing you this on this table is to talk about the fact that I typically lay everything out before I leave to make sure I've got it, including a snack and something to drink and something to ride on and something to write with. Obviously, and we'll put this stuff back here in a second, you need a transceiver.
Right.
I typically use... We
call it a transceiver because it can both receive and transmit. Now, there's variations on, like, what bands they can receive and transmit, depending on the setup there, like the radio I showed you the other day that I want to upgrade my car to. That can receive on, like, say, FM and air bands, as well as on the 220. But you then can transmit on the 2 meter and 70 centimeter bands. But, yeah.
The FT818 and the Z817 auto tuner as a combination. We've done plenty of videos about how to set those up. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time there. Here we're just talking about what would you need.
Is that connection there for auto tuning? Anyway.
You may need a power source. If I decide that I'm going to be somewhere for a while, I use this little Yeti 200X battery box with a 12 volt output running to the back of my 818. The 818 does have an internal battery pack, but if you think you're going to be there a good long while, I would probably bring one. Or something along the lines of, if you have a G...
I'm looking at the FTX1. That's what I want to get, a Yaesu FTX1. I've been liking Yaesu's stuff, honestly. Although I haven't really set up my FT991A, but I've been liking the brand so far. Just looking at it, tinkering with it, it's really high quality. Hey, Twisted Jester. Yeah, it's stream's going pretty good today.
which is a wonderful radio.
How you doing, bud?
You're going to need an external power source, a battery box or something. So you may want to plan, like, how far do I have to walk with this thing? And then, once again, if it's me, as we're going to talk about here in a second, I set up the whole thing in the backyard.
It's a good idea.
You also need, obviously, an antenna.
What antenna are you using?
This is the antenna. It's kind of become my go-to.
Oh, nice.
This is my linked end-fed halfway from Aetherwave antennas. I've used it multiple times already. Great antenna. You may want to use a vertical. I use end-feds, and as you'll see here in a second, I throw them up in a tree. That's the way I do
that's
it.
what I was going to say. You're going to throw that in a tree. So so the interesting thing you'll learn as you get into ham radio is how you can have antennas be very flexible in terms of, well, not flexible, but very adaptable. You can adjust them in so many ways, and you're going to learn that you tune your antenna to the length you want based on so many different factors. I've not seen that antenna in particular. I was looking at the Chameleon MPOS, which is a pretty rugged system for, you could set up NVIS, inverted V, inverted L, NFED. You could, set up a vertical dipole, so many different things. Does ham require a lot of math or electronic knowledge or learn basics and get up running? It levels up at each license. So when you just start out, you're going to do a little bit of math. There is a little math, but it's not too complicated. It's mostly just memorization of formulas, and then you can bring a calculator with you to do your test. They let me bring a TI-30X basic science calculator that we used in middle school and high school. You can also use the TI-84. I saw one person bring that to their test when I went for my general. The first level is basically you're going to have to learn about Ohm's law. And voltage times amperage equals watts, and then you learn about impedance and things like that. That's the first level. The second level, they'll get more into the components of it, like silicon transistors versus germanium. Where you have to understand that different things, and you get more into, some of the actual tech of it. Amateur extra probably goes a little bit more, but it's nothing you can't get over with a little bit of study. I saw people in the class I was taking that were, when I went to go take my test, there was a kid still in high school, and then I've seen people that are literally in their 50s learning all of this. So it's just a matter of just spending time to learn this. A lot of it is memorization, I will be honest. Rules, regulations, as well as, things you're allowed on. Don't worry too much about, memorizing what bands you can and can't use after you pass the test, because the honest truth is, even my coworker who's been doing this for 20 years has said, I don't remember what bands we use. I just keep the picture of the band plan up there, and I check it every so often, so make sure it's okay.
Okay, so you need the antenna itself, any rope you might need. You'll see how I do that here in a second. And speaking of rope, I always carry two things in my rope bag, and that is an arborist bag to give the line some weight, and about 50 foot worth of paracord. Some people say paracord binds. I've never had
pretty lightweight setup. I was probably going to go heavier with the Chameleon MPOS. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Your transceiver, whatever model you have, don't forget the microphone. Don't forget something to write with, something to write on, a snack, a drink, and a power source if you need it. And for me, especially in South Carolina, I always bring this too, because I know even today in my backyard.
Yeah, I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is what I was thinking of getting. It's a little bit of chunk of change. This I thought would be a great POTA setup. So you got your vertical pole, stake to put it in, comes with your cable to connect it to your thing with a choke. Of course, you've got your wire, your antenna wire over here. It's got a balun over here. Backpack. This is what I was thinking of getting.
Backpack here.
My coworker was telling me to get this. So I was thinking of getting the mini one. But because they have the micro one. But yeah, that's what I was looking at. You get you can do inverted L, inverted V, sloper wire, NVIS, of course the vertical whip. So many different things.
Going to be some sweating involved. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. When you very first arrive at a parks in the air, one of the very first things you're going to try to think of is, how am I going to elevate this antenna? For me, I'm looking for a tree about 65 foot away from where I'm going to sit. So in my backyard, that's easy. It's that tree right there. I use it all the time. I even know what branch to try to throw over the top. So that's a little bit of a challenge when you go someplace new. And then we'll also talk about this little pole right here that I use. In my backyard, I use this fencing pole. Out in the field, I use a hiking stick to elevate the other end of the antenna. So
He is the kind of area that I want to eventually have one day, because you can tell he's got a nice sized backyard that he can do this kind of stuff where, you know, there's forest behind him. And I think that'd be really cool to like have an area like this where I can just go out and say F society, but then still talk to people on radio. I know, I can embrace my old man yelling at Cloud Arc of Life. I get it.
That's your very first one. And you may also want to think about, down here below me and what I'm sitting on, am I going to bring a chair? Or am I just going to try to use what they have at the park? It's really up to you and what your plans are. So you may want to know the park. Is there tables available? When I go to Croft, I sit at the same table every time I go.
Yeah, you got to think about how you're going to hump all that gear out. Feeling positive today. I had issues with getting my old Dell Power Connect to let me into the console, but got this HP from work and got it set up so I can have my 2 open sense routers in the basement, connecting it with VLANs by use of 4 ports prod, firewall switch, dev switch, upstairs mini labs, managed switch. Interesting setup.
For testing, so completely up to you. Let's head down to that tree down there and get this antenna up in the air. So once again, this is a little bit more complicated when you go out to a park, but if you have a nice big backyard like I do, just find a tree that's got a good bit of elevation to it, maybe 20 or 30 feet. The one I use is right there. I've been using that little Y for a long time, and it's a great place to test. So as you've seen me do in many different videos, hopefully, now it's time to take the Arbush bag, good bit of this paracord, and at least get the line up in the tree so we can elevate this antenna. All right, so I've got the one end of the infit half wave tied, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but what I do is I pull as much of this slack as I can on the other side. You probably can see it, maybe, I hope, the difference in the line right there.
Hold up.
There's the other end. Go all the way up to the tree, but I'm going to give it.
So what, is he just using the paracord to pull the antenna line up? That's what it seems like to me.
Maybe 3 or 4 feet. And I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to wrap a bunch of this slack around the base of this thing so that doesn't move. All right, so I ball up a bunch of the slack once I get the antenna about where I want it, and I literally just play Ring Around the Rosie.
Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
I just drop it, because that QRP antenna is...
Okay, that timing was perfect!
Especially when you got good tension on the line from the bark itself. So
seems pretty straightforward, because you don't want it too permanent for a POTA, because you want to be able to set it up as easily as you can tear it down. One of the key things about POTA, just like many other things when you're out in nature, is we want to practice leave no trace. Whenever you go into nature, make sure that you leave the area no worse than you found it. What I mean by that is maybe you find trash or something like that. Take an effort to actually clean up the area. There's also a reason why I don't share a lot of my hiking spots and stuff like that when I go into fall. And I start doing a little bit of POTA, at least there, with at least a VHF, UHF, see if I can make any contacts out there, because people have just ruined some of the best spots. I have a great spot that has, like, no cell signal I love to take my dogs to, and I don't share that with anyone, maybe a couple of friends that I know, but yeah.
So far. So here's the other end. I tie off the matching unit. Once again, if you're using a vertical or a dipole or whatever, your setup's going to vary a lot from this point forward.
Ever look at the story behind Ring Around the Rosie? Oh, I know. Just like a lot of things as a kid, it's very dark.
If I'm out hiking, I use a hiking pole, and I'm going to strap it somehow to the table to keep it from moving too much. But then, for those of you that were paying attention, what I forgot in my little introduction was coax. Once again,
I was kind of wondering where the coax would come in play, because you're like, you're going to need coax.
take some time, get out in the backyard, lay it all out on the table, make sure you got everything you need before you get in the car and drive an hour away and realize you forgot something super important. So you've got your antenna up in the air, whatever kind it is, vertical, end-fed half-wave, dipole, however you got it. You got it up in the air, you remembered, like I almost forgot. Now you've got your antenna with your coax connected to the back of your transceiver. A couple other key points. Don't forget your phone. Most people don't in the 21st century, but that's how you're probably going to spot yourself. It's probably the most effective way. And or if you're hunting, as I'm about to do, you can use it just to find people that are already spotting. Assuming you're aware they have good cell coverage.
See, I would go find an area and intentionally don't have cell signal, but that's just me. I have a few places that I know that don't have cell signal that I'd love to do a POTA at.
Is almost everywhere nowadays. And then, if you're headed to the park, you won't need this in the backyard. Once again, I still log the old-fashioned way. If you log using a digital device, awesome. Just make sure it works before you get in the car, and make sure it works away from.
So it's always a good idea to log all of your contacts, because the FCC at any time can request your records, and this helps prove that you are operating in good faith and everything. There's reasons for that, but basically, one, you want to do it because if you're contesting. Two, if the FCC ever comes knocking, you can prove that you actually were operating within compliance and stuff like this, and they can corroborate things like that. I don't know anyone that's actually been contacted by the FCC, but I know people who know people that have. Just kind of like, hey, yeah, we're checking in on you. It's not a big deal. Generally, the FCC is pretty friendly towards ham operators as long as we're operating within the confines of the law and not causing any intentional interference.
Such as, do you have Wi-Fi? Is it relying on Wi-Fi? Can you set up that Wi-Fi? That's the nice part about this right here, no Wi-Fi needed. Speaking of my pad, one of the things I also do before I go home, just to make sure, if I don't have Wi-Fi, I write down the park number. This is an old set of notes from Glassy Mountain. I write down the park number, and in this case the summit number, and I have it somewhere so if I get to where I'm going and I don't remember the park number or I don't have Wi-Fi, I've already got it listed.
See, that's good to know. I didn't know you had to do that. I didn't know they had park numbers and all that. I was going to be like, calling up like from, this is Chief from Grand Canyon. That's good to know. And like I was mentioning before, Summit on the air, he mentioned there's a summit, so he went to a mountain. Yeah, that's good to know.
People are going to want to know that number if you're having a good day. All right, so the phone, once again, if you have a good cell signal, it's going to help you immensely. Obviously, if you're on the activator side, you're going to have to sign in and spot yourself. But one of the strategies you can also try is best be a hunter while you're at the park. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. This is the POTA website on my phone. I'm going to select, since it's the most popular, the 20-meter band, and I'm going to select the mode that I always use for.
So you see there's all these different modes you learn how to operate. So CW is Morse code, frequency modulation. Then you got the digital modes over here for, I think, it's FT4, FT8. You got straight data, single sideband, and you got phone operation.
Until I can eventually learn CW, and that is single sideband. And then it shows you all of the different websites or all the different people that are already activating, including their frequency and everything else, and you can dial in that, and we're going to try out
a YouTube interface? I think so.
QRP, Christopher, got you in the log. You're probably about a 5-3 for me, 5-3, but pretty clear.
Roger that, sir. Appreciate you coming back to me. I'm working QRP in the backyard, just testing out some equipment, and the bands are pretty rough today.
Yeah, it's probably not the best day to check out equipment. It was a little better earlier, but what was my signal report?
Well, you're a booming 5.9 into the upstate of South Carolina, sir, and I really appreciate you working me.
Hey, not a problem. Glad to get you in the log, buddy. You make number 7 out of 10. So hopefully get a few more in there. 7-3.
73, sir. Have a great act.
See what I mean? 7-3. That's how we often sign up. Best regards. You'll learn about all these Q codes and everything.
Well, hold on. Let me turn this down.
And what he was talking about, you know, the bands are a little bit rough today. So you have to be mindful of the geomagnetic weather and stuff like that. So there's things that go into it, like the K index. You learn about all this stuff as you get into your, you got the K index over here. So as you can see where we're at with this, with geomagnetic storms. High amount of geomagnetic storms can, you know, make things a little bit rougher, and that's in 3-hour intervals. You have the K index. Shoot, what's the other one? Trying to remember what the other index was. K index and shoot, I just went oh, the A index, I think it was. Yeah, so basically these tell you different conditions in the Earth's atmosphere. And you'll understand that. Remember when YouTube switched from Flash to HTML5? I forgot about Flash. But yeah.
Hands are pretty rough today. I had limited luck on 20, got a good solid contact on 40, and everybody's complaining about it. It's rough. So if you're out there this weekend, kudos to you. It sounds pretty bad out there, but still out there having fun, and that's what it's all about. So if Parks on the Air sounds interesting to you, my suggestion, as I started off with, take your equipment out in the backyard, set it up, and make sure you got everything ready to go. Because once you get out there, one of those beautiful locations, if you forget something or something doesn't work, it's a long drive back to think about.
Yeah, it'd be fun to just set up the battery and get the radio set up, get a laptop out there, like a regular laptop like I was talking about. You don't need much in terms of CPU power if you're setting up a ham radio, a little laptop there. Like a Core i3 would be even more than enough. Throw Linux on that, you're good. There's a lot of programs out there for Windows if you want to go that route, but you know me, I'm going to go with Linux. But, excuse me, many radios have a USB connection, so you can actually pull the data straight in. But yeah, Parks in the Air is something that's always been interesting to me since I got into ham radio.
So,
just the idea of going out.
We appreciate you.
But yeah, I learned a couple things in there. I'm like, I didn't know about the mountain and park number and everything like that. That's good to know for the future for when I actually do get into this. But yeah, what do you think, chat? Am I getting y'all into ham radio? Look, I already convinced a lot of you to get into Linux. You getting into ham radio? SDR Realtek is fun. So I have my SDR somewhere around here. I actually started with SDR very first. I got into plane spotting. Here it is. Got my SDR over here. I don't know how that will do for TX, but it can definitely RX. But yeah, that's I think a really cool little breakdown of Parks on the Air and everything. So this was Two Old Men in the Woods. I'll have to see what else they have in the future, because ham radio has definitely been a fun little hobby for me. So moving on, let's continue on to, let's go to this little Raspberry Pi video over here. So there's a Raspberry Pi ham radio transmitter.
Howdy, everybody. Steve.
This is, I think, from, yep, temporarily offline. I've been following this guy for a little while. He's got some interesting stuff that he talks about. So this came out a few days ago. This is, he's talking about a Raspberry Pi ham radio. As you know, I have a lot of Raspberry Pis, so I'm curious. Looks like he's mentioning RadioBerry and Spark SDR. So we're going to be talking about some software-defined radio. I think they're only RX. I need to investigate TX side if I ever get my license. Yeah, you definitely need a license to TX. I think it's the 902 to 928 megahertz. You don't need a license to transmit on. If you stay in the FRS bands, potentially, and low power, you could do that too. 902 to 928 is, if I remember LoRa correctly, which is where Meshtastic is. But yeah, definitely get a license so that can actually save you a lot of trouble and have you understand what you're doing.
Today I'm going to have a lot of fun doing some Raspberry Pi stuff. I love experimenting. This is one of the really cool things that is happening in ham radio right now is we do have some resurgence of experimentation going on. John has created a Radio Berry. It's an open source hardware and software platform for building a transmitter. It is very similar to the Hermes Lite. It is so similar to the Hermes Lite that when you pick it in your software, you actually pick Hermes Lite instead of saying Radio Berry. And both radios run on the HP SDR, the Open HP SDR spec. My friends over at Rzync sent in the amplifier and the Radio Berry hat that you see sitting here on top of the Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi 4, Radio Berry, and
I'm just taking a look at this. So it looks like he has an SMA connector, and I'm just curious why that SMA is going into another SMA, unless they have like some kind of a tuner or something like there. And then he's got these two wire leads off here. So I'm curious how this all plays into each other. It's nice, it's compact, and I'd really be interested in seeing what it can do. I probably don't need more than my Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, which would be great because I got some of those laying around. I'd like to avoid using the higher powered ones if at all possible. But yeah. Yeah, 902 to 928 is an ISM band. Yeah, but Meshtastic generally operates by default at 915 megahertz. You can adjust your Meshtastic to many different channels. Most people just keep it at that default frequency.
amplifier. The Radio Berry is running.
Oh, so it's got an amplifier. Okay.
One of those modem chips, similar to what your RTL SDR does, and then it has an Intel Cyclone processor on it to handle converting those modem sounds into audible sounds and do all the radio magic. And John set out to do this, not knowing what he was doing. He says that he's going from noob to hero on his GitHub page, and he says it's in perpetual beta. So this is the snapshot in time for when I got this in my hands, and it used to be worse. I saw some of the evidence that it used to still be like on its growth path up. Now it's pretty stable, now it's pretty fun, and it's only gonna get better from here. So I will leave some links in the description down below so you can play along with this thing. But for now, let's go over and...
I'm already interested, you know that. Oh God, I got so many projects I gotta finish up.
Get the headers on, get the amp connected, get some software installed.
I feel like I need to get my ham shack done before I actually set this up, because, yeah.
Get on the air. Well, I guess we need a Raspberry Pi. Let me get into my Raspberry Pi bin and find us some tasty pie to use. Oh, this thing is stuffed. I need a Pi 4 out of here. There's so many other projects in here to work on.
What do you think of Elementary OS? I haven't personally used it myself. I have many friends that use it and they like it.
And I know because that one's a Pi 5.
Training as a CNC machinist. Nice! I want to get into that eventually. I just don't have the time.
Next to each other, the Pi 4 has USB on the left and Ethernet on the right, and the Pi 5 does not. But we're going to use a Pi 4 for this one. Why not save some money? The next thing I'm going to need is my soldering iron. Let me get that out of my...
Okay, so why would we need a solder?
Because we need to put some pin headers on.
Ah.
This is my pine sill. I've had amazing luck with it.
See, I use a pine sill too. You know? Got my little pine sill over here on my little case. I got a 3D printed case that I keep this together so that it's my little soldering kit over here. This kit has literally traveled the world with me. I've taken it to Morocco, I've taken it to Portugal, I've taken it with me to DEF CON, and I've used it in many different countries. It's great. I definitely recommend the pine sill.
Eyeballs. I don't think we'll need these, but we needed to move them out of the way anyway. And
have you heard of toilets on the air, Toda?
337 solder to get this job done. Because this is all magic, it's going to actually hold itself together just right to make my soldering job easier. So I'm going to wind up with a set of helping hands all in one here. And then that has plenty of length to go down one more board level. There we go. Let's get this thing warming up.
That thing warms up fast, by the way.
All right, she's ready to go. She's cooking. And so that is one easy way to make helping hands. And yes, there are 1,000 different ways to make helping hands. This is just the one that I decided to try out today. Because what is this if it isn't about experimentation and fun? And yes, I'm taking this all the way apart because I want to show you something. So first off, if you're using one of these and it's not working out well for you, it's probably more to do with your USB power supply than it is.
Exactly.
I had it originally set for 800 degrees and the power supply that I was sourcing from couldn't get it above 610 before it ran out of,
Oh, I love my Pine Sol too. Pine 64 actually sent it to me as a gift because I kept buying Pine SBCs, and they happened to just throw it in with one of my deliveries. And it's cool. It's a RISC-V, actually, RISC-V CPU inside of there. So technically, my Pine Sol is my first RISC-V device ever. I'm going to do custom stators for vertical axes, wind turbines. Ooh, interesting. Every stream is another day watching you wrestle with hobbies versus time versus ADHD. Yeah. That's why I really do wish that I could become a full-time content creator so I could just focus on my hobbies and just do the thing. But I also like my job in cybersecurity, so it is what it is. Run mine with an old laptop charger. Heats and cools quick. I use a Pine Power over here, but I've also used a Basis battery pack when I was at DEF CON to solder some of my badges. But yeah. I have one of those little USB-C soldering irons that takes 60 watt. I used it so much that I earned $100. Yeah, this is a USB-C soldering iron.
12 volts. It only supplies 9 volts on USB-C. It's an Anchor thing. Anchors don't like to do 12 volts. 12 volts was removed from the spec USB-C. So I moved over to my big 100 amp hour battery that I made, my battery box that I made. Took it right up to 800, had to bring it back down to 650 to get the job done because 800 is too much. And look at that. Not bad at all. What did we do? We wound up making this on. Look at how perfectly flat that is. That's just a work of art right there.
A nice little PCB.
So now we can put the whole thing on the Raspberry Pi. I'm going to do it on the Pi first. And what you're doing is you're turning your Raspberry Pi into an SDR radio server. So that can be discovered over the network and then controlled from your main computer.
Ah.
So now I get to do all those standoff things all over again.
So hold up. Just thinking outside the box here. I could set that up for remote control. If I set up a VPN tunnel inside a pfSense using dynamic DNS for the resolution, which you can do because, you know, if you're using DHCP and you don't have static IPs, which most of you don't, you can do that and then tunnel in over VPN, assign that to the VLAN that this is on, and then remotely control your ham radio from anywhere in the world. And that is legally allowed with your ham license, just to make that very clear. That's interesting.
All right, and then on your RadioBerry board in the middle here, and on this board, they're labeled receive and transmit and receive and transmit. And you get these two little jumper wires.
Okay.
Connect them together. So that's what I'm going to do. Connect them together. And first, I'm going to get these into position, and then I'm going to tighten them all the way down. Because I don't want to tighten this one all the way down first and then have it fight me.
Which license class do you have to have in the U.S. to allow remote operation of your radio? Technician. The very lowest level lets you have rights to it. The license is more so about what bands you can access than what you can access, if that makes sense. So that's really more of what it's about.
Let me get this one into position.
Give or take.
They'll swivel just a little tiny bit while you're getting them tightened down. And this trick works especially well for SO239, PL259 type connections where they actually have centering teeth.
Now, I'd personally like to see this in a metal enclosure so I can ground that to it and possibly reduce some interference that could be in there. But yeah.
All right, there we go. And then that becomes your new...
No, it doesn't. Hang on, I hear a ham radio and I'm intrigued. Yeah. VPN will work if you have interwebs. Kind of defeat the purpose of ham radio, I reckon. Still cool. No. There are tons of radios out there that are being controlled over the internet. Ham radio is purely about experimentation and enjoying the art and science of radio in any shape or form. There's no limitation to it. Just as long as you're doing it in a nice manner, you're not intentionally causing malicious interference to anyone else out there. And if you do cause interference, you resolve it in an amicable manner.
Antenna connection. The way this thing is designed, it has some software protections built into it. So if you go over 50 degrees Celsius, it will actually shut off the transmitter here.
Canada, you have to have an advanced license in order to have a remote operation. Interesting. I don't think that's the case in the U.S. It's more so about operating privileges of the radio that you're actually at.
The final.
Well, operating privileges of the station of where you're operating. So, for example, yeah. So, like, Yitz, often, you see him in my videos and all that. He's not going to be allowed to touch my radio until he gets his license, and I've made that very, very, very clear. He's not allowed to touch it.
Which is really...
I mean, he can use it for receive, he just can't use it for transmit.
nice, actually. Well, I guess if we're going to do some Raspberry Pi stuff, we have to burn an SD card. And this is a big one, but inside the big one is the little micro SD card. It doesn't take a whole lot. I want to say...
But operation also gives you better noise floor if you live in a congested city environment. Yeah.
Probably less than 16 gigs, but good luck finding a 16 gig SD card. Get yourself a new fancy SD card for whatever you want. I'll leave a link in the description down below for a good one. Take whichever old one you have that works just fine.
Samsung, PNY, get a cheap one from Micro Center.
Machine for a ham radio project. But this is what I got. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it inside of my machine so I can start burning the SD card. I'm going to use Raspberry Pi Imager in order to do that. So first I need to get to a Raspberry Pi Imager. So I will leave all of these commands.
You can use a lot of different tools out there.
The web addresses, everything. They'll be linked in the description down below as well. We need to go to raspberrypi.com/software, and that will give us the Raspberry Pi OS, but more importantly, it'll give us the Raspberry Pi OS Imager. It runs for Mac OS, for Windows. You can put it on Ubuntu for x86, or you can just run this command from your Raspberry Pi. Since I'm on a Mac OS machine, I'm going to download the one for Mac OS. I'm going to run through the installer. It works like
we're looking at a Raspberry Pi ham radio
for Windows. It works like any other installer for Windows does. Run the program, next, and you're done, and then run the Raspberry Pi Imager. So I'm going to imagine that you and I both have got that installed and running. And here we are. It's running. It's like...
I've never really used this tool. I've just downloaded the image and then loaded it up with like DD or Disk Imager built into Pop OS and stuff like that. But pick your poison.
I'm going to choose my device. If you have a Raspberry Pi 3 laying around, the RadioBerry support's running on a Raspberry Pi 3. Use that because it's not the most processor intensive thing in the world and you already have it. So
oh, perfect. I have a 3B Plus laying around. I had a couple that I actually want to still use them for something. And if it's just serving data, it doesn't need to be super, super powerful. It's just going to be there. Now, what I think would be interesting is if I could actually still use the PoE hat with it, but I don't think I'll be able to because I don't think it had a pass-through header.
If you don't have one, get a Raspberry Pi 5 because it's going to just last you that much longer because that is also a supported model. But I have a Raspberry Pi 4. It's the oldest, cheapest, slowest thing that I have that's going to be able to get this thing done. That's the one that I'm using. So I picked Raspberry Pi 4. And then under OS, it gets a little teeny tiny bit tricky. You can do the full Pi OS 64-bit with the full
just use the server.
Use any of the desktop for this case. So we're just actually going to go down here to Other, and I'm going to pick Pi OS Lite 64-bit, which is going to have
legit ham
desktop environment. So this is going to be the
we still haven't seen it DX, but we'll see.
To get this thing done, and I've already downloaded this. It's cached on my computer. I'm going to click that as the one that I want. I'm going to choose storage. I put a 64 gig card in. It's the one that I have for the demo. Again, you don't need one this big. So when I go to click on this to pick storage,
that's what she said.
I put a 64 gig card in, 63.9, close enough to 64. We're going to make it happen by picking that one. I can't pick anything else. It's got exclude system drive, so we're safe. So I picked that. Given a choice of only one choice, why not take the only choice? I'm going to hit next. And then this is the cool thing about Raspberry Pi Imager. You can do this without Raspberry Pi Imager, but it makes it all easy for you. I'm going to go ahead and edit my settings because this will pre-configure my Wi-Fi, my host name, my SSH keys, all that jazz. And I'm going to call this RadioBerry because I have zero creativity and I don't know what to name things. This is my RadioBerry device. I might as well call it RadioBerry. It'll make it a little easier to find in the future.
See, I'd run mine over Ethernet, but I have a rack for that.
Makes me happy. Username, I'm going to leave this at Pi. The password, I'm going to leave this whatever it was. I don't care. I don't use the password. I don't need it. I log in over SSH keys. Here I can configure my Wi-Fi, my wireless LAN. So
Yep, I use SSH keys too.
And my password and my Wi-Fi country of US. And then I also have it set for my time zone and my keyboard layout. All of that is fantastic. Services at startup, I want to have SSH enabled. Like I said, I wasn't going to use the user Pi with a password. I'm going to use it with SSH. So I have to have SSH enabled. That enables me to get in and do the rest of the commands here. And then set authorized keys for Pi. This is my authorized key, but if you want to use a password, you can go ahead and use the password. I love using SSH keys. I'll show you when we get a little further.
I use SSH keys for almost everything too.
Password because this key is going to be presented. This is the public key. My private key is going to unlock it. It's going to be a 1-for-1 match. It's going to let me in. I like it. And then under options, nothing special here. Do whatever you want to do with these things. I do like to eject the media so I don't have to eject it manually when it's done. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to say, yes, I'd like to use those settings that I just painfully went through and set. And then it's going to say, it's going to wipe out the SD card, which it is because it's installing a brand new operating system on it. So yes, and we're writing, and we'll be back when we're done writing. I guess it wants to know my system password in order to overwrite a drive, which is
yeah, it's going to need that.
Password. Now we're off to writing. We'll be back when it's written. Next up, we need some SDR control software, something to control the SDR radio with, and I'm going to use Spark SDR because it works on all platforms. SparkSDR.com. It is a cross-platform SDR application for.
You can do digital modes, run multiple radios. Oh, that actually is kind of nice.
HP SDR compatible radios like the RadioBerry that we're playing with today. I need to go to downloads and then all these stable releases, Windows 10 and 11, Windows 7, thank you, Linux 64. They have a RPM for Red Hat machines and a deb file for Debian machines or Ubuntu or Linux Mint or things along those lines. I am on Mac OS, so I am going to download the appropriate Mac OS version. They have one for x86 Macs and they have one for Apple Silicon Macs, and that is what I am going to use is the Apple Silicon version. So I'm going to download that file. It's going to stick it into my downloads folder. Once in the downloads folder, you double click on it and it produces a file for you. Take that file, drag it over into your applications folder on your Mac OS. On the Windows side of things, it's going to download a zip file to your downloads folder. Unzip the file. Inside of there is going to be an installer. Run the installer. Next, 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 and you're done. And on Linux, I don't need to give you guys any instructions. Y'all are geniuses. But basically, download the file and then click on the download in your downloads drop down in your web browser, and it'll launch the installer and install itself. Again, we're going to pretend that we all got that all done and poof, magic. After you get this thing downloaded and moved into your applications folder on Mac OS is going to be all up in your business. It says, Spark SDR is an app downloaded from the internet. Are you sure you want to open it? Well, of course.
It'll only do this on Mac.
I moved it into my applications folder and I ran it. I didn't have any doubts until this exact moment. So I'm going to hit open. And then it says, Spark SDR would like to access the microphone. So yeah, if you are going to be using this,
it's probably because it's using it for TX.
You might want to try to talk over the airwaves with it, and you're going to need a microphone for it. So let's hit allow. Spark SDR wants to find devices on local networks.
Yeah, you're going to need that.
Network attached radio, it's going to need to discover devices on the network in order to see it. It's not trying to snoop into any.
So a lot of the stuff it's bugging you for is only because Mac asks you for a ton of permissions and stuff like that. I get why they do it, but it's really annoying, especially at work.
Hopefully untoward.
Mac asking for permissions for you to share your screen to Teams, and then Mac not being the reason why CrowdStrike doesn't work properly because, you know, yeah, it's annoying.
But take it at your own risk and under your own common sense and whatnot. But I need to find the RadioBerry that is a network accessible device, so I need to be able to search the network for it. I'm going to click allow, and it presents you with this very unassuming screen here. So I'm going to hit settings and hope I can do that. And I might as well type in my call sign. And I might as well type in my locator. I happen to be in EN10 right now, and my antenna is the flavor of the day. And why not show the map? Awesome. There's a waterfall. I like dark mode. Enable experimental features. Of course, I'm a ham. I like to experiment. Extended logging. Sure, I don't know what it is, but why not? Drivers required. And I don't think we need any of that. We do
RTL
need
if using SDR.
This is a OpenHP SDR type thing, and I need to do 192.168.12.0, which is the beginning of my network, and the end is 192.168.12.255, and I bet
He doesn't need to have that wide of a range. Normally your DHCP is like limited to 100 addresses or so out the box when you're talking an off-the-shelf router, and you're never going to use 0 and you're never going to use 255. Because, yeah. Normally, what is it? 0, 1, and 255 are going to be reserved for different things.
would have searched that anyway because it's the right network. And then all I can do is close this. There isn't really like a save button. I can keep going a little bit further. Let's do FT.
I generally set my scope for 50 IPs at most per network unless I know it's going to be more limited.
JT Whisper. So this is going to be your FT8 modes. This is going to be awesome. Do FT8 directly in there. And I already do have WSJTX installed. I'm just going to leave that the way it is. MIDI, I'm going to leave that the way it is. PSK, CW, audio, WebSocket, logbook. I'm just going to leave all that the way it is. Maybe we might do something later. And then I guess this is refresh. And it found the radio. I just hit the refresh button. That is awesome. Okay, and then this is a power button. Is there a tooltip? No tooltip. I wonder if this is like the start the radio connection and start doing things button. I'm going to hit this go button now and see what I can get. Oh.
Get your waterfall.
Look at that. All right, let's go to, there we go. There's a little FT8 magic for you. Nice. Awesome.
I'm looking at your website and I will read it more carefully once we have completed our QSO. So, Haru-san, wonderful to meet you.
That's pretty awesome.
You on the map very soon. And we are near San Francisco, my friend. I hope you have been well. JA1 and Charlie Golf. This is Whiskey 6.
That is cool. I wonder how he's got it set up into what antenna.
Oh, nice. I'm hearing both sides of this. California and Japan, and I am in Nebraska. This is
that's
awesome.
Nice. No, he's using a radio berry that it was configured a little bit differently. He'll probably show it up in a little bit. But this is kind of nice. I definitely want to set this up in the future.
I am in Nebraska. Nebraska, listening to California isn't really all that special. But Nebraska to Japan, that's pretty cool. This is the antenna that I'm using. I'm out here to show you. It is the Chameleon 17-foot whip. And I have been using the 17-foot whip forever because it is super easy to set up with the adapter.
So that's the same Chameleon whip that I was telling you I want to get. Because I hear great things about that Chameleon MPOS kit. Play with inverted V's, L's, and NVIS and all that. But that's cool that he's in Nebraska and he's hitting Japan with that guy. Of course, he's in a nice clearing right now.
Blank on there, but the ground.
It's probably a good day for
radials, and you're off to the races.
Your
if you want to transmit with this thing,
atmosphere.
It is a very low power SDR radio, and we did go through all the trouble to solder on the headers and apply the amplifier board to the top of the unit. Let's power it up and put out some signal. I want to do some transmitting. So what I did is I got out my wire strippers. These things are pretty cool because they have kind of the jaws of life thing there on the left and the stripper of
vertical
danger.
Give low angle of radiation. Yeah, I got a what is it? A Comet CHA 250 that I'm going to be putting on my house. I'm looking forward to it. That boy is 24 feet tall. I'm going to be putting that at the top of my house.
There, and that makes it really easy to strip the wires. And then I used one of these Wago or lever nut connectors to
making some power poles
to get it plugged into my power supply, and that plugs into that JST connector there. I have this power.
I haven't gotten the route into power poles yet because I haven't set up my ham shack, but I have this feeling I'm going to be setting my stuff up with power poles as I get into it because they look really nice and they seem really useful.
Down here, it is an Alinco, and I've got it tuned down to 8.4, and my camera wants to auto white balance. Tuned down to 8.4 volts coming out, and that is safe for the amp. And my watt meter here seems to be happy with it.
Why 8.4 volts? I'm just curious. Why not run it at like the standard 13 or so?
So
what's up, Cinty Pinky?
I did kind of always suspect that watt meter had a 7805 in it or some other voltage regulator to take it from 12 volts bench power supply, ham radio type stuff, down to 5 volts anyway. I'm feeding it 8 volts, and it is probably reducing that down to 5 volts happily as well. Not that big of a deal. I'm just trying to get a little bit of a reading to see what's going on, and it's going to work. Let's get over to the computer. I got to configure this.
I just would like to see it at 13.8 because my power supply is fixed at 13.8. It's not variable, and if that's the case, I'm going to need to get a variable power supply. I have this little Finrissi power supply over here, but I have a feeling that's not going to give me enough juice because this runs off USB-C PD, but I think this can only like supply like, I think it was like 30, 40 watts or so. It's not too much.
So that it knows how to control the amp. And I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll do some transmitting. Inside of Spark SDR, we need to turn the radio on. There we go. Over here we have the 3 dots menu for the radio settings. Let me mute that volume so we don't have to hear that in the background. I'm going to click radio settings.
Seems very useful.
PA for power amplifier. And here I just want to have enable PA, enable power amplifier. And all the rest of these settings are fine. If I go back to general, I have this tune drive, and you want to take this thing, and it's going to take a long time, but tune it all the way up, all the way to the right here, and that will get you 255 drive, and 255 drive is what you want. And then down here, PTT hang time, it starts out at 20, bump this up to 30, and then you are good to go for transmitting.
So what he's talking about is because it's got an amplifier, it's gotta actually have a little bit of a delay to kick the amplifier on.
And now here's
cover this in our test
about this application. You want to do FT8? I got you covered, boss. I'm going to put it into FT8 mode. And of course, you can FT8 on any frequency, but it's customary. But it's customary to do it on. Here are my decodes down here.
Oh, nice.
And so
it's pretty straightforward.
I can see a couple of people having some conversations back and forth. And that was the next window. So I'm going to go ahead and call CQ myself. You can see over here it says CQ KM.
CQ is looking to talk to anyone.
9G EN10. And if you recall, that's what we put in the station, my call sign, KM9G, and my locator, EN10. And so I'm just going to go ahead and call CQ, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. I hear the radio relay click on over there. I see power coming out of the power meter, and I can see it bouncing the signal up and down that it's trying to send. Let's see if anybody heard me. Oh, I have one person who has heard me at 1 watt.
Oh, nice.
It just came through, and the radio is transmitting again. It thinks I'm in Minnesota because that's where my QRZ call is. I'm in EN10. I'm down here in, where is it? I'm down here in Nebraska right now, near Lincoln. But it's going to be close enough to show the map. But these are the people that heard me.
See, look how far he is. Off the Raspberry Pi? So he did that with a little chameleon whip in a park. And you can see he can hit pretty much both coasts. That's really cool. Just on that little Raspberry Pi with a radio berry. So, looks like he hit, well, it's going from that Minnesota, so that's probably not accurate there, but that's interesting. I can't wait to do this myself when I get my Radio Shack set up. Oh, you can literally have your radio go all the way around the world and actually hear yourself, and it's interesting because one of my coworkers was telling me when he did it, basically he was talking to someone and you hear an echo because it's literally going around the world, and you can do a long along, what is it called? The long path, where you point at 180 from where you want, because this will actually work off bouncing off the ionosphere. So on the first hop, if you hit, what is it, F2, if I'm not mistaken, the F2 region of the atmosphere, you can hit 2,500 miles potentially. Even the lower D region, you can hit 1,200 miles off the first hop. So, yeah. You can do a lot with HF. That's why I keep saying, anyone that gets their ham radio and you just get technician, it's getting your feet wet, because the general class opens up a lot more fun.
Idaho, and another one in Idaho, and another one in Maryland. And we just finished another over.
You can hear the little clicking in the background. That's the amplifier clicking on.
Ooh, look at that. I'm getting hurt up in...
Look at that. Now he's getting hits all over.
Saskatchewan, British Columbia, Washington State, all over the East Coast. That's pretty cool. All of these people here are hearing me just fine. That is awesome. Let me show you the kind of power that we're putting out on this thing. This is crazy.
That's it?
There you go. 1 watt.
All that off of 1 watt. My setup that I'm planning to do is going to be capable of doing up to 100 watts. Well, 75 with digital, because apparently that's the limitation of the dipole that I picked. But yeah, you can reach pretty far. But yeah, that's the Radioberry Raspberry Pi, as you can see. Oh, that's interesting. So he's getting the power in for the Raspberry Pi to that. He's not running a USB-C or anything. It's feeding into the amplifier. Ah, I get it now. Now, what I would like to do is get an enclosure for that, because I feel like it's susceptible to some RF interference, but it seems to be working okay now. But yeah. About 50 watt duty cycle. Yeah. I have to play with it. I haven't got my stuff set up, but that's his SWR watt meter. I'm gonna have a SWR meter set up with mine. Mine's back ordered until November. I was looking at a Diamond SX600, which does VHF, UHF, and HF all in one, because I just wanted it to have one box there, and I'll probably have I'll eventually upgrade my equipment and stuff like that over time.
That is beautiful. 1.3 watts.
Planning on setting up All-Star?
How high?
Maybe, eventually. So he's at 1.44 watts. That's a very light-powered device.
4.4. Nice. So I got some more playing to do with this setup, and I got some more videos to make with this setup. This was just a pretty quick introduction as to what it takes to get the Radioberry up and running, and hopefully you'll get one and get playing as well. It is such a small little thing. I love it. There are links in the description down below where you can get some more information on the Radioberry. And of course, you can pick one up on Amazon, and I get a little tiny taste from the seller side. Doesn't cost you a dime.
Yeah, the MFJ watt meter, yeah, that looks nice. I'll probably pick up some more equipment when I'm at Hamvention. I could order some more and everything, but I think what I want to do is I want to definitely get my ham shack together first before I start getting into more things. Then eventually what I'll do is get some additional antennas and things like that. I'll have my main setup and then everything else. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
That's the beauty of modern
DQ, like DQ? Pretty much.
E-commerce, modern commerce. I love it. Be sure to also look down in the description for the instructions on how to do this. It is super easy to get this thing installed and set up under 10 minutes. I was shocked. Totally shocked. While you're passing your way by down to get all the extra information and all the links and everything, there is also a subscribe button down there. I would greatly appreciate it if you...
I think MFJ are still in business because I see them all the time. But yeah.
Subscribe button. I'm on a mission to get 100,000 subscribers. You can help. This would be fantastic.
So yeah, you can get the preamp board, all that. Looks pretty straightforward. And he's using the Chameleon 17-foot 17-foot whip. So it's not that crazy of an antenna with the spike mount. So, yeah. That's a neat little device. I'm definitely gonna have to put that in the wish list. Because what I'd like to do is get that, put that in the rack, run a antenna all the way out. I'll probably have to run another antenna out into the yard and tuck that wire against the wall. Because I could probably mount it against the fence, to be all in complete honesty. But I just have to figure out how to do that safely. I could probably bury the line. I'm just thinking out loud here. Yeah, run it along, bury it a little bit. Yeah, it's totally doable. Totally doable. Yeah, just run some LMR 400 for that. Yeah. MFJ has shut their manufacturing facility. Oh, they have? Oh, that's a bummer. But yeah, I have a couple LoRa things I do not know what to do with. I managed to set it up and connect them, but there's no other LoRas in range here. If you build it, they will come, Cristoval. Told you about Pop OS, announced my development, Swiss Army Knife Linux distro. It's a nice operating system. I love it myself, as you can see. Coding and Strudel. I haven't done that. Thoughts on Noster? Don't really care for it. I've been on Blue Sky and Mastodon, and that's enough for me. Every time I think about going back on Twitter, Elon does something jank, and then I'm like, nope. Yeah. FT8 works down to some wild SNRs. Oh, yeah. I also heard some things about Whisper. Whiskey, Sam, Paul, Ringo. Whiskey, Sierra, Paul, Ringo. So this is another video I was looking at. This is apparently a single sideband CWHF transceiver that, like, is handheld, which intrigued me, because I saw this video come up while I was at work, but I didn't want to get too into the video. So let's see what that is. LMR 400 is plenty fine for HF. Well, I use LMR 400. I probably could be fine with RG8U or RG8X, but yeah. Hi. I think it'd be interesting to set up the little Raspberry Pi that we talked about earlier so that we could actually set that up for continuous calls. If I could set that up to automatically tell people, hey, yeah, we're hearing you, and then relay it out, that'd be really cool, because then I could have something that's always listening while I DX.
My name is Paul, and welcome to my YouTube channel. For a very long time, long and even longer time, I couldn't decide whether to buy this micro QRP transceiver or not. But finally, I decided to buy it from China, wasting my money, testing, and finally maybe recommend it to you, or even warn you against buying it and wasting your own money. So let's take a look on this little device and see if it's really worth to buy or maybe not. Let's go.
I'm interested because this is a small little guy, and apparently it can do 40 meter, if I'm not mistaken.
About this transceiver is that this micro QRP transceiver is based on an open source project by Emmanuel Delta Lima 2 Mike Alpha November in collaboration with Guido.
It's got a mic key, the antenna is a BNC connector, TTL, and phone connection. Okay.
Papa Echo 1 November Zulu. It should be noted that it was originally a purely non-profit project until Chinese manufacturers started to produce and sell it commercially.
Right.
Therefore, Manuel and Guido abandoned the continuation of this development
that's a bummer.
Project and came up with a new, better project, which is the True SDX. You can find the link in the video.
That would be fun to build. That.
Video description. And now to this radio. The first thing I noticed was a screw in the package that fell out.
Oof. That's not a good thing.
The threads are damaged inside.
Oh.
So I cannot put it there back into this chassis. The dimensions of this radios are pretty nice. It's just 16 centimeters high and only 5 centimeters wide.
Not a big thing.
And the thickness of this radio is just 2 centimeters. On top of this radio we can find 4 connectors. First one is for microphone combined with the CW key. Phone for an earphones, TTL connector for connection between this radio and computer, and the BNC female socket for an antenna. And on the right side of the radio we can find the rotary encoder, and as you can see, the hole is quite bigger than the encoder itself. And on the left side of the radio we can find 2 power connectors. The larger one is for feeding the radio itself.
It's looking like a low quality build because look how offset everything is. It's just not lining up. I wouldn't be happy with a product like that where it's like, oh yeah.
The electronics inside, and the smaller one is for the battery charger. And on the front panel we can see the place for the speaker. By the way, it's a pretty good speaker. I like the sound from it. And this panel with the screen. 3 buttons underneath. Here is the exit button, menu button, and power button, or also the PTT button.
I haven't looked at the Hermes light too. I looked at that Radio Berry thing.
The is made of some kind of flexible plastic or self-adhesive film, and therefore we can actually use these buttons underneath because this plastic is pretty flexible. And that's it. That actually nothing on the back side and on the bottom side except of this missing screw. To open this radio we need to loosen these 2 screws on top of the radio and also 2 screws on the bottom of it.
You mean 1 screw?
And then we are ready to open the radio and the top cover of the radio, but be careful because the sticker over here is holding the small switches underneath. You can see them all here. So they are actually sticked here to this.
It just feels like the tolerances are not the best on this.
And there is the battery on the bottom, so just be careful.
What kind of battery is that?
Here we see interior.
What kind of battery is that? Let me take a look.
Is the battery on the bottom. So just
looks like a lithium polymer.
Just be careful. And here we see interior of this radio. It's a sandwich type of construction. As you can see, 2 PC boards and the battery itself. Very compact, 12 volts and 1100 milliamp hour LiPo battery has been used in this radio.
Yep, definitely pure Chinesium.
The dimensions of the battery, which is only 16 millimeter thick and 35 millimeter wide and 55 millimeter high. As it is 12 volt battery, the electronics in the radio doesn't need to use a voltage boosters, which are obviously very noisy.
Right.
If we want to explore the PCBs in the radio, we need to remove also these 2 upper screws of the plate, and then we have
it
full
just feels like
to this.
I'm not hating on it because it's Chinese. I'm just saying I'm hating on it because it just looks relatively low build quality because of the tolerances and just, yeah.
Which type of electronics. I just found one thing here. This is missing the protection fabric on the back side of the speaker holes, and therefore a lot of dust is inserting in.
See what I mean? Like little things like this, they matter.
Radio, and as you can see, after just a while, or after a very short use of the radio, the speaker seems to be pretty dusty. And also I found some dust here on the PC board. So definitely I need to glue
being intolerant towards tolerances.
Piece of fabric down there to protect this radio or
well, fabric, but also let's back up for a sec. Let's look at those solders. So
definitely
they're not cleaned. Like there's still like some flux or something there. For me doing that on my own project, that's one thing. If you're selling a product, that needs to come in like clean.
Need to glue some piece of fabric down there to protect this radio or interior against the dust. If we want to explore both PC boards, we need to loosen these 3 screws on top.
The other thing, just to I know I'm kind of being nitpicky. I don't like the fact that the standoffs are stood off the way they are. You have 1, 2, and 3 over here. I feel like there should be another over here, and there should be another over here. Give it some more stability. That's just me.
And very carefully to disconnect connector.
Oh, well, I guess if that connector's there, that could act as a standoff.
With 8.
But even so, it'd be nice to prevent the flex of the PCB.
So now we have
okay,
2 separate boards.
You got some coils and stuff.
Here is the RF board with filters and relays, and here is the main board with processor and the other stuff. And here we can see that this transceiver is actually a 4-bander.
Look at this. Look how ugly this is. Again, if I were doing this myself as a soldering project, totally acceptable. But this is being sold as a finished product. And what are these 3 unsoldered holes here over here doing? Like, I'm just curious, what was supposed to go here? Is that just an oversight for the PCB? Or are they reusing this for like a slightly different version?
And works on.
They've got some Japanese relays in there at least. Those are good. I wonder if they're legit Omron. Who knows?
40, 20, 50.
They could be Foamron.
15 and 10 meters. The WARC bands are missing here on this board. Here we can see toroids, and on the other side we can see...
Look at this! Just look at how nasty this is. Like, I would expect a board to be clean if it's a manufactured product. But this is just... ugh. It's ugly.
Capacitors.
Like, look at this. It kind of looks like they straight up burned part of the PCB. Or maybe that's just solder flux. And then what's this? What's this over here? What are those? And then like it looks like you got a pin going through here that like wasn't even soldered right. That just looks so nasty.
Controller.
Like, okay, it looks like there's nothing there, but then it's soldered. Like, ugh, it's just nasty.
For these 4 relays, which are higher quality as they are Omron components. And as for antenna, Here has been used this angled BNC socket.
Did my audio just kill itself? Hold on.
Front, left.
Yep, it did. My mixer once in a while decides to go quiet.
Front, left.
Okay, we're gonna back up for a sec so I can actually hear it. Am I streaming from Linux? No, I'm streaming from the Windows side of things. I watch on Linux and do my main work. The Windows box over here does the streaming, which is probably why the streams are not always the best. But I have Elgato hardware that doesn't work the best on Linux quite yet.
Omron components.
Stream Deck's teleprompter.
Here has been used this angled BNC socket.
Okay.
And here on the main board, we can see these nodes.
Class C driven SSB transceiver, USDX. So at least they do give credit. But like, look how nasty these little solder joints are over here.
Simple and experimental Class E driven SSB transceiver. And we can see the link for the USDX project. And also, thanks to Mr. Guido, Papa Echo 1, November.
So that is nice that they at least give credit.
Zulu and Delta Lima 2, Mike Alpha November. Also to Whiskey Bravo 2, Charlie Bravo Alpha, and maybe others which are participating on this project. Modified based on the USDX, small size for SOTA and POTA activity. Microtransceiver for SOTA and POTA from August 2023. As the brain of the radio has been used this Atmel Mega 328P.
Okay.
Then we can see a clock oscillator and also two 7805 voltage stabilizers. Then here we have Tango Charlie 8002D and this tiny trimmer, connector for the screen.
Okay.
You can see here these sockets, encoder, which is Mitsumi.
Okay. It is an interesting piece of kit, but it just looks like the tolerances are off and the soldering is lower quality. Like you can see some of these components over here. They're wave flowed, at least I believe, and they're a little bit better. Maybe not wave flow, but they were put down with a heat gun. These aren't so bad. But then you get like individual solder joints that aren't so great.
And
hold up. Let me see if I can catch that. I just saw a glimmer.
TM.
Yeah, see? Like right there. That, I think, is some flux. Because it's a little bit more reflective over here. I caught that. It's like they didn't clean the board properly.
5532. Headers into.
Again, if I was soldering this myself, it'd be fine.
For the power.
But it's one of those, when it's sold as a finished product, I'm like, bro. That pin header.
Then we can see here 3 switches and the screen. Well, the reason why is my screen protector sticking out right here on the exit button is that on the board you can see 3 switches and all of them have been cut to its optimal length. But this one, the exit button, is still too large, so I probably need to cut it a little bit more and then it should be fine. And as for a built-in microphone in the radio, you can see the holes there.
between the sockets, and if you open the radio, you will see that there is a place.
Thank you for the follow, Zippo.
But the mic is located there on the opposite side and pretty deep in the radio, and also is not facing up. So I presume that the high frequencies will be missing in the audio spectrum. So this is definitely something for my next modification. Well, I hope that this battery has good internal balanced management system, or BMS, because I found that this radio is missing a charging circuit on board.
Oi.
So there is no indication of the battery status. Actually, you don't see any information on the screen.
Oh no.
So the only way how you can charge this battery is when you use this original charger, which has been included in the package. And there is just one indication, and that's the LED.
Oh God.
When the LED gets red, the battery is charging. When it's green, battery has been fully charged. And that's it. And sometimes I think it is pretty dangerous. If this battery has a proper BMS system, that's okay, because it should disconnect the
somehow
when
I don't think it does.
The voltage is too low and couldn't damage these battery, but I don't know how is it looks like inside. And the second power socket, which is, as you can see, larger, this is for a direct supply of this radio. It is not for charging, so you can use the smaller one for charging, and the bigger one is used for a direct supply of the radio. And also the question is, where is actually the heatsink? Do you see any heatsink on the board? No, I don't see any. And also there is no heatsink on the enclosures.
Yeah, that was something that's been bugging me.
Really,
because that's going to make some heat.
Where is 5 watts cooling on? So if you know the answer, let me know down in the comments.
Accidentally turned off the little box here.
Bluetooth mode.
The receiver's power consumption in USB or single sideband mode and volume set to 10 is currently 130 milliamps.
Okay.
12 volts.
Not too bad.
Power consumption in CW mode and connected the dummy load, external power supply, 12 volts, is 840 milliwatts. The RF output power on 40 meter band and 7.1 megahertz CW mode is 4.8 watts.
A little bit more powerful than that Raspberry Pi.
On 20 meter band or 14100 on CW mode.
That button is so inconveniently placed.
The RF power on 15 meter band or 21.1 megahertz CW mode and external power supply 12 volts is 6.5 watts.
That SWR is pretty decent.
Output power on 10 meters, which is 28.1 megahertz CW, 12 volts and external power supply is 4.5 watts. And the same frequency, same band, 28.100 CW mode, but with internal battery.
Okay, so roughly the same.
4 watts on internal battery. And again, the 15 meter band, but on an internal battery, 6.2 watts. Same frequency on 20 meter, but on internal
too bad.
battery.
But I'd never buy this device because I just question the quality.
And same frequency on 40 meter band, but on internal battery. 4.6 or 5 watts.
I find it interesting that some are more powerful than others.
To measure the spurious emissions
not that
on
consistent.
the micro transceiver. I've connected it to my external power supply. Here you can see a short jumper cable coming to these 3 gigahertz, 10 watts, 40 dB attenuator, and also the spectrum analyzer.
Oh, so he's got a dummy load on there.
So let's see what the spectrum analyzer will show us on 7 megahertz band and a CW mode and external power supply. So we can see some spurious transmissions, but they are pretty deep, and that's fine.
That's immediately what caught my eye.
Just one signal here.
So chat, spurious emissions are unwanted transmissions. Basically, you want to avoid that because then you can cause interference on other bands people are listening in on. And yeah, you just got to be careful of that. Because the spurious emissions can also be transmitting outside of your loud bands. So you got to be careful about that. Like when you're, let's say you're at, if you're using 3 kilohertz of bandwidth on an upper side band, you got to account for being 3 kilohertz from the edge, things like that.
So 20 meter band and 14 megahertz. External power supply.
Ooh.
Here we can see the fundamental frequency and so spurious transmissions. Also deep under minus 50 or minus 60 dB. That's good. Now 15 meter band and 21 megahertz CW mode.
Ooh, did you see that little spike all across?
CW mode.
Look at that. Look at that. That's no bueno.
We can see the fundamental frequency on 21 megahertz. The other ones are pretty deep, under 50.
Yeah, they're deep under, but it's still not stuff you want.
Or 60 dB.
Even though it pretty much be attenuated by the time it reaches somebody, but still, you know? Because you have to understand, every 3 decibels is double the signal strength. So when you're like, oh, well, it's only 10 over that, you know, if it's like over here, down here, and then spiking to 60, that's about what? Close to 100 times increase in signal strength? If I'm not mistaken on my math?
And this is 10 meter band and 28 megahertz CW mode external power supply.
Whoa. I did not like that.
So we can see some spikes there, but they are under minus 60 dB, which is quite good.
Maybe quite good, but I just didn't like that initial spike they had. That just...
Okay, so let me test this radio in a real conditions. So I connected this micro transceiver to my 2-element hex beam antenna, and I will try to make QSO on 20 meters.
You're very welcome on better condition time. 73. 20 meter band. This is 2 Echo 0, Yankee Mike Tango calling CQ on this thing, over.
So you're getting a...
Oscar Mike 0 Echo Tango QRP.
It's a pretty long DX.
Hello, Paul. Oscar Mike 0
Wow.
Echo Tango QRP. Good evening. You're 5 and 5, currently 55 report into the northwest of England. Name also Paul.
He's 5x5, not the strongest. So he's roughly 843 miles away to convert that to civilized units. And able to DX on this little guy over here. So imagine what I'm going to be able to get when I get my 100 watt setup going.
Yes, okay, Paul, thank you very much for 5 and 5 signal report. You are 5 and 7, 5 and 8. I'm testing a micro transceiver, which is the QRP transceiver, works with 3 whiskey only. 3 watts, 1, 2, 3 watts. It's a QRP transceiver on internal battery. What is my audio, please? I think that the audio is not very clean. Back to you.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's like wobbling a bit, Paul, like you're short of power or something. You have like a wobble with your...
So he's getting S8, which is not too bad. You want to get that nice, but yeah.
Your audio, Paul.
He's wobbling between S7 and S8.
Yes, I'm currently on the hex beam antenna with this micro transceiver. So, what's wrong with the audio again, please? Is this readable or not? Over.
Oh, it's readable. Yeah, it's definitely readable. No problem. 5 and 5, your readability is okay. You just have a little bit of it's hard because you're just above my noise level. So you're sometimes dipping down to the noise, Paul. But you have like a wobble, like a wobbly sound, like you have a low power, low input power. Go ahead.
Okay, QSL, yeah, only 3 watts, maybe even less, maybe 2.5 watts. So I'm very happy even with this signal report. So thank you, Paul, for QSL 73, and Mike, back to you. Over.
73, mate. Have a good evening. Catch you soon. Bye bye. This is 9 Alpha 3. Bravo, Charlie. Go ahead.
All right, guys. So this is my
interesting. I mean, it seems to DX well, but
on a internal battery.
I'd be concerned about the quality of it.
So Paul says that there is some problem with the audio, some wobbling on the audio. So I will try another QSL. Let's go. Oscar Mike 0 Echo Tango QRP
2178. About 1,350 miles out.
Okay, QSL, you are 58 QSL.
What is my senior report? 5 also?
58.
Many thanks. Oscar Mexico Zero, Echo Tango, QRP, Echo Golf 25, Florida Delta Charlie. You can check our accord in QRC.com. Sky Party Award.
See, this is the cool thing about getting into general class when you can do HF. You can hit people all over the world. Now, obviously, this guy sounds like he's over in Europe anyway to begin with. But you can easily hit all across the U.S. and around the world if you have the right equipment.
73.
Okay, gracias. 73, thank you.
Echo Golf 25, Florida Delta Charlie.
Okay, so this is radio shouldn't work on 17 meters as they are just 4 filters and 40, 20, 15 and 10. So I'm able to work on 17, but question is serious emissions or something else. Maybe even the power is very, very small here. So while tuning the radio, I have noticed that the radio produces a lot of birdies, and they repeat maybe every 50 kilohertz. So let me show you that. Here is one. I can disconnect the antenna just to be sure that it's not coming from the antenna. Another one. Again.
Telling you, I'm not getting this. Like, pure Chinesium for sure. Like, don't get me wrong, I want a small transceiver, but just not this.
This is really strong and annoying, so... Okay, so I don't know what is the source of these birdies in the radio. I don't know if this is something to do with the screen or processor inside. I have no idea, but sometimes it is quite annoying because the sound of these birdies is so loud sometimes that, well, this is the cheap radio actually. So. Maybe you know what's the problem.
It's the screech of it saying, "Put me out of my misery!" Yeah. Oh yeah, it's crazy that it does that without the antenna, which means it's the device itself. Basically, there may be like some kind of a feedback loop or something inside of there. Like it wasn't grounded or that. I don't know, but...
My name is Yves, Yankee Victor Echo Sierra Yves. I'm in Southern France. Oscar Mike 0 Echo Tango Fox 6 DMQ. Okay, QSL nice to meet you. Yes, my name is Paul and thank you for another QSO. I am testing the very new micro QRP transceiver. It is a very small handheld transceiver with internal battery, and I've connected this transceiver to the hexagon.
It definitely sounds like a ground loop or something like that.
2.5 watts, maybe 3 watts power.
But
and what is my signal report? You are booming here, S9 plus QSL. I'm copying you if you're 2, 3, or 4 watts. So from your QRP transmitter, I'm copying you about 58, no problem. Back to you, Paul. Okay, Yves, thank you for 5 and 8. And what is my audio, please? What is the audio from this transceiver? Over. Sounds a little bit distorted. Your audio, if you are asking me what is the report on the audio, I think it is a little bit distorted. But the signal is not that strong to give you an accurate report. You may trick something there to get a audio which is not distorted. But I'm copying you. Okay, this is if you ask me the quality, I give you a report. But otherwise, it's okay. 73. Nice to hear you, Paul. Keep doing a good job with your QRP. Oscar Mike 0 Echo Tango F6 Delta Mike Quinn. Thank you so much for QSO and for the report. 7-3 and bye-bye. Hope to see you next time again. Bye-bye. 73 Paul. Thank you. Good night. Fox 6 Delta Mike Quebec.
I mean, it's an interesting little device. I don't think I'd get it though.
So people are saying that the audio is it's not so bad actually. It's maybe a little distorted, as they say. So, well, I don't know. It is workable, I think. I'm on the
workable, yes. What's the price of it though?
It's not super quality, I believe. It's not super quality, but it is workable with such a small radio. Wow. I'm really a bit surprised. I didn't expect, actually.
If there was better build quality, it'd probably be a better overall device.
Radio in real conditions. So, perfect. People are saying that my audio is not very good, is a little bit distorted or maybe wobbling, and therefore let me perform a following test. I'm going to talk into this micro transceiver, and at the same time I will be listening to myself here from this Italian online SDR receiver located in Sardinia island. So let me do this test and we'll see how my audio sounds like on the other side.
Hello, 1, 2, test. 1, 2, test. Oscar Mike 0, Echo Tango. This is Oscar Mike 0, Echo Tango calling. Test on 20 meters. This is QRP station.
Yeah, there's different ways to do that, but
Echo Tango.
he's just right above the noise floor. Like, pay attention to that. He's just right above the noise floor. You can barely make him out.
This is Oscar Mike 0, Echo Tango calling. CQ test on 20 meters. This is QRP station, Oscar Mike 0, Echo Tango calling. Test, over.
So as you can notice that the audio on the other side really sounds wobbly, and I think that the battery is not already fully charged and there is some voltage instability, and therefore I'm going to test or to perform a second test with external power supply. I have a battery, so I'm going to connect the battery right here. So let me test right now with this battery.
Ooh. So he's hitting the S7s, but you know, like between 6 and 7. But he sounds like really robotic.
Well, as you can see, my signal and audio sounds a little bit wobbly in Sardinia, so definitely there must be something inside wrong with the radio, and if you have any idea what is a problem in the radio, let me know down in the comments.
Testing micro QRP transceiver with internal battery. Micro SDR transceiver. Internal battery test over.
Okay guys, so what do you think about this QRP little pocket transceiver, which is actually based on the USDX technology?
Depends on the price.
It doesn't matter right now. I think the final decision is still up to you. If you are looking for the link, it is right there down in the video description. So thank you so much for watching, and 73.
It's an interesting little concept there.
To 0. And still noise.
But
okay, power off.
Just curious what this is gonna. So there's that one, which he was talking about, which is the open source project they're doing now. That seems interesting. But that's the, oh, okay, here we are. Yeah, that's a little bit expensive for what it is. It's like a cheap radio. I'm not a fan. I would rather spend the money, if I were going to do it, to go get this. They have a kit over here. The kit seems fun. Looks like you solder a few components in. That seems like a fun little project for me to do. Solder that together. And then I could 3D print a case. That seems fun. Why is there a different price between these different guys? But yeah. Yeah, you can get much better used gear at that price. Oh, absolutely. Like, if I were to do this, I'd get the kit over here just to have fun with it and solder my own components. But I would totally not buy that little micro transceiver over there. That's just, that sounded horrible. Horrible. And people are giving this a good rating over here. Whereas this is 1 review, 3 stars. It's an interesting concept. Receiving frequency of 0.5 megahertz to 30 megahertz. TX of 1.8 to 30 megahertz. Yeah. I don't think I would get that. I really don't think I would ever get that. There's a lot better equipment, I think, out there for the price. Especially used gear, like you were saying. But that's just me. Yeah. Hit the wrong button. Yeah. That's just me. But, well, anyway, it's getting late, guys. I've got a few videos that I'm planning to get released for you all. I got 4 YouTube videos I'm going to be editing this weekend. I've got a couple of the reaction videos if you missed them. I got the Jay's 2 cents finally tries Linux video, and the other night where we did talked about one video I saw where somebody was like a 21-year Windows user using Linux. So I will have those on YouTube. Those were from the stream. A couple, one the other night and last night, and then I will have more content for all of you very soon. I'm probably going to stage some of this content to be released over on YouTube while I'm at DEF CON. There'll probably be some more content while I'm at DEF CON. Probably stuff for both TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Long-form content. I'm going to try to get some vlog stuff together, but, no promises. We did get this little guy together, so expect a video on this, as well as my overall thoughts, tinkerings, and yeah, I will also have a post-DEF CON wrap-up video about this. Ooh, this is a little warm at the top. Not uncomfortably warm. My back's a little bit uncomfortably warm, but, yeah, so we will, definitely have some fun with this, but thank you all for joining me. I'm gonna get ready for bed. If you're on Twitch, stick around for the raid. Otherwise, if you haven't already, follow me on all my socials. I am on Blue Sky. I'm on Mastodon. And of course, we have the Discord. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Kick. I'm on YouTube. I'm everywhere. I love you all. Stay safe. Happy hacking. And I shall see you next time. There's movie night this Saturday over in the Discord, and then we will be streaming again Sunday. All right? All right. Love you all. Stay safe. Happy hacking.